Sorry, guys. We'll do pre-show. We'll cover topics when we get live here. Make sure I'm on Facebook. It was buggy. Facebook's testing their ban, so they're pulling on pages. Yeah, we're live. Good. Ames, would you mind checking Rumble for me, please, ma'am?
Sure thing.
Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show pre-show. Sorry I didn't get the show up. I was with Izzo today and had a really good show.
How'd that go?
Went good. Went well. Talked about religion. I'm sure we offended a few people. But I'm going to have that show up after this show, and then I'll have a new one tomorrow. It was tax season. It was tax day, guys. And my taxes are, dare I say, extremely freaking complicated. Like,
I can imagine.
Really complicated. The good news is we were supposed to pay $14,800 in taxes, and we wound up...
That's not good news, man.
Yeah.
You and I
no,
have very different definitions.
No,
for
that's
good
really
news.
good. That's really good news, actually.
Rumble's
and then-
good, by the way.
Good, thank you, ma'am. And what I was saying was, what's good news isn't that we were going to have to pay $14,280. It's the fact that my accountants, which are just gods, she is ex-Navy, sister's Air Force, and they got us $5,280, almost $10,000 less than what we paid last year. So,
Wow, that's awesome.
now, listen, it's a blessing, because I'll be honest with you, I'm not kidding. If we would have had to pay the 15, Don't Unfriend Me was done. That's it. I would have packed it up and said, gotta go work full time, and that's it. So it's now more important than ever to keep the show going. And Olivia and I sat down, we had a long talk, and said we're going to recommit. And we're doing well. We had the best year we've ever had out of 3 years. It's just, when you take away $150,000 in a salary, you got to make that up somewhere. And I'm not there yet. So and if we were there, we would be spreading the wealth. But it's just gonna take a lot of help.
I get it.
And we're gonna have to keep it going, man. That's it. So it is what it is. But the good news is we're not going anywhere.
I'll tell you this. I will tell you this, and I'm sure I don't want to speak for Amy, but I will say this: that I get the vibe that she and I are both on the same page. I'm committed to you and the show, and so long as you commit to me, kind of deal.
You know that,
right?
You know that. Yeah, you know that.
I know.
We all know that.
That's what I'm saying. It's a promissory, blood brothers, right?
Yeah.
Well, pinky ring.
Great.
Maybe a little docking involved. I don't know.
My word has never been my problem. My aspirations always are. So we just got to get to a point where, when you can pay the house payment, you can get yourself the things you need to survive. Then you can start looking elsewhere. But I know Spreely's going to take off, and I know people are helping with a DUM club, and we got to get there. We got to get there. So we just keep working. Got a minute. What are we talking about tonight? We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. Donald Trump lashes out at prosecutors. Got a video for you, and Leroy's going to take the helm on that. Pastor's Fiery Rebuke was at an all-men's conference, and pastor versus pastor, royal death match. Protestor Spectrum, slightly above peaceful and not quite terrorists are where these protesters are starting to go, and we've got to find a way to figure out what we need to do to get them to stop. Virginia's underage marriage ban. And we're going to be talking about that, and Amy's going to take us out on that. And Governor Youngkin did some things. We're going to have a conversation about it. We're going to find out what everyone thinks. But we're out of the pre-show, folks. If you want to watch us somewhere else, now's the time. We're on Rumble. We're on Spreely. We're everywhere. We'll be back in 3 minutes. See you in a second.
Hey,
real quick. I had a lot of people reach out to me and tell me that there was a reaction video from the weekend when I did the show on Israel and Iran. And I guess during my time of going after Kyrie a little bit, that he has his own YouTube channel and he decided to go ahead and respond. I don't care. I said what I wanted to say. I'm sure he said what he wanted to say. If it's going to carry on from there, he knows where I live, and I'm sure that if he took umbrage with it, that I'm a 50-year-old man, and let's see if youth wins. Otherwise, I don't take it any other way. He had some things to say. I had some things to say, and it's over. I talked a little shit. He talked some shit, and I'm moving on. So, well, and if he doesn't want to move on, he knows the number. He can call in, dial into the show, but I'm not going to go watch his video. I'm not going to go and hawk him down. He has every right to say what he wants to say, and I have every right to call him a jerk. And I did that. So he's a jerk. But it doesn't mean I don't love him. Doesn't mean I don't like him. I actually like the guy quite a bit. I think two-facedness is not a good look on anybody. So that's it. Just, that's all. It's over. And if it's not, we're going to find out. You know my number. See ya. Let's listen to wonderful music from Still Point.
Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more fucked up than the lies on the evening news. Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree.
BK, I love your reply to that one troll. Just absolutely fantastic. BK just dropped the frickin' hammer. It was perfectly done. If anyone sees Mike Johnson tonight, let Mike, I'm looking to talk to you. Give me a call. Want to chat with you, or just reach out to me via text. And get out and likey, like riding a bikey.
Stop offering me, 'cause I'm everything you want. Damn, so what's your name? I won't tell no lies. Back up on the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's dad.
Hey gang, Dominic Izzo, host of the Rants of Izzo show here on Spreely TV, reminding you, watch my friend Matt Spear on the DUM show daily as well here on Spreely TV. You're going to get talk, news, trending politics, all social issues, everything entertaining and engaging and educational. Do it. Watch it. The DUM show, Spreely TV, home of free speech. Speak freely here at Spreely. Pretty damn cool. Spreely TV and the DUM show.
The Dumb Club.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts Matt, Leroy, Amy, Olivia and Mike. Geopolitics, military analysis and election coverage. Coming to you live on the Spreely.tv network and all major social media channels at The Dumb Show.
It's only on that one scene.
Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
What is going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation? Welcome to the show. Amy, Leroy, sorry we did not get to say hello and cuddle before the show. I apologize. How are you both? How are we doing?
Good. Can't complain.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
Good. That's wonderful. I hope everyone is having a good time. I want to show something that took place. By the way, on Friday, Amy had a chance to go and see Beauty and the Beast with me. And Jason and her family came over, and we went to go see Beauty and the Beast with my daughter. I would just love to have Amy tell you a little bit about her experience. And and then what's cool, you guys know Mike. He's my Vietnam / bodyguard / special forces, Deca 10, Green Beret, all this other stuff. Him and his wife showed up, and we went back on Sunday and watched it again. It was so good. But Amy, your thoughts on the play? We'd like to hear what you think.
Honestly, I mean, I had a lot of questions. I was asking if everyone in this musical was in middle school because the talent in this production was literally on par with like a Broadway or off-Broadway production. They did such a fantastic job. I was highly impressed. The coordination, they had their timing down. Even the kids that didn't have a main role, like, the people in the background, they were phenomenal. There wasn't a kid in there that didn't want to be there, who was doing it for extra credit or something. You could see they all had heart. And we went and saw Frozen a few months ago. It was a Christmas gift. So we got to see that at the Kennedy Center. And it was one of the best shows, I think, ever. And both of my kids said that Beauty and the Beast was better than the off-Broadway musical of Frozen. They were so impressed by it. It was a great show. It was awesome. We enjoyed it very much. I loved it.
I feel horrible because this is what happened. So they did Be My Guest again. And they came out, I was once again so enthralled, I forgot to bring out my phone. I did it on Friday, and in the middle of it, I'm like, oh my God. I got the tail end of it, and how effing magnificent this was. I mean, you're talking, 25, 30 servers with silver trays at the bottom, all in sync. And they did a Rockettes kick, and they're doing these, stage spins like Lord of the Dance. And dude, it was incredible.
Whoever choreographed that was fantastic. Like, it was so well done. It did not seem like a middle school production. It was amazing. Like, amazing.
Now here's the just real quick, Leroy, watch this. This is only 20 seconds, but look at the costumes, the backdrop, everything was incredible. Let me flip this down. Gosh, this is the ending, and you got to understand how Be My Guest works. It's a slow ramp up, right? It be my guest, it's slow, and then it just gets fast and kind of like Russian, type dancing and music. It's so that's the way this, the tempo goes. But this is like right in front of it, 4K, phone kicking butt. There's Hayden right in front with Belle. So watch this. Now the girl in the pink hair, she's an operatic singer, and oh my Lord, this woman has lungs like you cannot. Like, every person in the audience was like this.
Yeah.
What in the hell just took place? Most
You
powerful.
You did not expect that voice to come out of literally any of those kids. They're kids. They could sing anyone under the table. Like, they're amazing. And yes, the operatic
13
singer.
years old.
I was like,
they're 11, 12, and 13 years old. And there were more 6th and 7th graders in there than 8th graders. And the level of, anyway, I know I keep talking about it. So they did 4K video on Saturday. And I said, you guys better release this. We can't sell it. And I said, I don't care. I don't care what Disney says. I want a copy because I swear if I could have gone again, I would have. It was just magical. It was amazing. Yeah. It was even better on Sunday. So anyway, we've talked about it, but it was just so freaking awesome. Just very, very good. So
we loved it. I loved it.
Good.
I thought I just really did. I really loved it. I was telling all the moms about it, and some of the moms actually went to see it this weekend, so they were also equally in awe by this show and the performance. And I'm really happy because that's where my kids will probably go to middle school. I don't think we're going to do private for middle school. We want to make sure their life
Good.
is as hard as possible.
Good.
So just throw them into the ring at middle school.
Here's Hayden all grown up at the after party. Sorry to put it over on you, Amy, but she went to the after party and had a blast. So Ethan tonight and Olivia, they are at the baseball game. I told my son, I said, I'm sorry, kiddo, I can't be there tonight.
And what in the heck? Why are they having games on Monday? I have another mom who was like, "Oh, we are at my son's game." I'm like, "On a Monday? Like,
Yeah,
what
I
in
know.
the heck?"
No, I can see that.
So I'm sorry. We usually do the pre-show and get right to it, but you know that we've got life. Look, this is what this show does, and you know you either bond with the hosts or you don't. And the one thing we like to do here is we like to share our personal lives a little bit with the audience, and we do that. So a couple house cleaning things. If you have not had a chance, go to the dumclub.com, DUMCLUB, folks. A lot of cool things. We've got the members are up on the front page now. We've got that, so everybody's on the front page who's a member. We've got the news articles are going to be start tomorrow. I'm going to start doing separate articles that are only for Dumb Club members. We're going to make sure that you all who are at a certain level in the club get ad-free on your news, and then we're going to start rolling everything else out. We've got the first group chat scheduled. I think that's April 27th. Someone's going to have to educate me on what day it is. I think that's what it's
That's a Saturday.
Yep, Saturday at noon. And we're going to be there, and we're just going to get on Skype, and you guys come on video. It's not going to be recorded. It won't be broadcast live. It's only for members. So there's that. And then one last thing.
That's
Still
awesome.
Point. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Still Point kick drum cover just arrived, autographed by the entire band. And dude, I love those guys. If you have not had a chance to hear them, please do that. They just got rated #2 downloaded song in Georgia.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, Still
That's
Point.
amazing.
I mean, a lot of people don't know they have a ton of accolades, but to be the #2 downloaded song in Georgia is pretty cool. All right, let's get going. We got a lot to do, a whole bunch to do. We're going to start off with Virginia Governor. Let's make sure that's right. Yeah, it's the first one. Amy, walk us through. I got a video. You didn't give me one. I got it for you.
Okay,
'Cause I'm good.
Mine was so long.
That's what
Yeah,
she
I
said.
mean, that's what she said. Yeah, I actually was not aware of this. Jason sent me this, and I was floored because I have young kids and I have a daughter especially, and I didn't know that this was legal, and it's legal still in a lot of states that
Yeah.
kids are getting married, and it's mostly girls, of course, but there was some, I think it was 8,000 Virginians under the age of 18. So that means like a parent had to consent to this, who are married between 2000 and 2021. And some of them were as young as 12 years old. And 80% of those stats were girls. So 12 and up to 17 getting married in our state. So it's really concerning. I think he was signing it today. I'm assuming it would have gone through all the way.
Well, let's watch.
But I didn't see.
Let's find out. Let's see what they say.
Terrifying.
And then,
Right?
well, it is terrifying. I mean,
Terrifying.
it's one of the conservative laws that I've always cringed at. I think, well, let's watch the video, then we can give our opinions. Hold on.
There's a push underway in Virginia to completely bar child marriages. Now, you might think they only happen overseas, but there are actually still exceptions that allow them to happen in the Commonwealth.
Northern Virginia Bureau Chief Julie Carey looks at what activists and child marriage survivors are doing to change that.
These are pictures of Bridget Combs taken when she was just 15 and pregnant, married at a courthouse ceremony to a much older man. It happened through a pairing her mother set up for religious reasons.
But this was a legal marriage because my parents signed the paperwork. They signed signed me away.
It wasn't long before Bridget realized being married at age 17 with 2 kids by that time just wasn't right.
And oh my gosh, this is not going to work. And now what do? I can't go to my parents. I'm not old enough to file for a divorce. I don't even have a driver's license.
Bridget left the marriage at 18, became homeless for a time, divorced at 20, and says being a child bride had lifelong consequences. Now living in Richmond in a long-term stable marriage, she's joining those pushing to tighten Virginia's law.
Closing that loophole, I see as a way of offering protection, an added layer of protection.
In 2016, the Commonwealth became the first state to limit marriage to those who are legal adults. But through a complicated judicial process, some 16 and 17-year-olds can still win permission to marry. In 2018, 23 minors still wed. Since 2019, 27 have married. Now a bill is being considered to remove any exception, something 10 other states have already done. The Northern Virginia-based Tahirih Justice Center has been working nationwide to end marriage before age 18.
One child married is too many. Forced or not, it sets young people up for devastating short and long-term consequences. And in fact, delaying marriage to 18 or beyond will set all people up to be better off.
But in a recent hearing in Richmond, a Family Foundation representative urging lawmakers to stick with the current law.
There are good reasons for people to get married under this very reasonable exception.
The legislation moving ahead for now, winning approval today that will take it to the House floor for a vote. Reporting for News 4, I'm Julie Carey.
In Maryland, minors can marry as young as 17, but only with the consent of parents or guardians. In the district, minors as young as 16 can marry.
Wow. Leroy, since Amy introduced this, Amy, you go ahead and chime in and your thoughts real quick, and then we'll give it over to Leroy. Then I've got a couple.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as a woman myself, I have so many thoughts on this. Honestly, even if it's essential.
A what?
I'm a woman. I'm a woman.
Can we have a definition? Can you use that in a sentence, please? I'm a little confused.
I was born with, do I have XX chromosomes? Is that right?
I don't even know anymore. Go ahead. I'm teasing. Go ahead.
I think I was born with XX, whatever the women's chromosomes are. I have that. I have all the girl parts, and I've birthed 2 children from my body without any intervention. Well, I did. I had emergency surgery, but have them out. But, they came out of my body. I grew up.
That sounds transphobic. It sounds really transphobic of you. Yeah, just saying.
I pretty much.
Well, that doesn't sound transphobic. Transphobic is more like, Matt, did you do that? And when you say yes, then we get to jump on.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's. I mean, in this day and age, what isn't transphobic? But go ahead. This whole thing, we'll bring it back to that. That's why I bring it up. Go ahead.
I do think this is, especially knowing that the percentage is 80% of women who are getting married at this young age. One, I think it is horrible, even if it's a consensual thing. If you're 16, you can wait 2 more years. If it's the law, you're not going to die. And maybe something will happen in that 2 years that makes you realize this isn't the right person for me. Or maybe those 2 years makes your relationship grow stronger. Take the time. And if it's something that you're being forced into, if you get pregnant out of wedlock, why are we forcing these young girls? Yes, there's a huge economic impact. They are in poverty. You can't file for divorce. If you're in an abusive situation, you can't leave. You are now stuck. You're tied to this person until you're 18 and legally allowed to sign documents because your parents co-signed you to get married off at a young age. I think it's horrible. I hope this goes through. I hope every state passes this. And I hope my kids don't get married young. I really hope not. I think waiting for most people, not everybody, but I think it's better to wait.
No, I think, I've talked about this before in terms of marriage. The younger you are, the more difficult it is to predict where you're going to be in 5, 10, 20 years. Generally speaking, what you hope for in marriage is that you grow, because you're not going to stay the same. Nobody ever stays the same. The person you are at 10 is not the person you are at 40, right? And so generally speaking, you hope that the person you marry grows in the same way that you do. Sometimes it doesn't happen, right? And ultimately that kind of thing leads to friction and then divorce. Hopefully not, but it does happen. And so it's a bit of a game of chance. And so the earlier you start down that path, just is not a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
House Bill 994 has officially been signed by Youngkin, so it's already been through the legislative process. He had the ability to either veto it or send it back for review, and it sounds like Governor Youngkin signed it. And here's the cool thing. If Republicans are going to sit here and say that child grooming is bad, and a child can't possibly make the decision to transition or get gender reassignment surgery or be chemically castrated or decide that they're a rainbow spotted unicorn, then Republicans need to strike down these laws that are archaic and essentially, during medieval times or extreme large acreage of plantations or rich families tying people like royalty. That's what it was used for. It was used for rivaling villages and rival plots of land to merge together and conglomerate their overall resources to be powerhouses in towns and cities and everything else. These are archaic practices. And you even heard that that's what that young lady in the example did, is her mother basically arranged that marriage for power. So if we're going to say kids can't be transitioning, they can't make these decisions, then you have to stop marriage too. And you also need to look and consider working. And we need to, like Hayden is about at 14. Next month, she's ready to go possibly work at Tammy's Diner if Tammy will have her. And I think that's a little young, but I think going in the summer and doing that there's difference. And there's laws that allow 14-year-olds to work up to 40 hours a week during the summer.
Is it 40 hours? Okay, I'm like, that seems like a lot at 14.
They can work 40 hours a week in the summer at 14. And I honestly, I don't think there's a problem with that. I think there needs to be a lot of nurturing. I think that the child needs to pass an interview process. It shouldn't be based on nepotism and things like that. And the good thing is she goes to work at Tammy's, she's going to get her ass kicked because Tammy don't mess around. That woman is a tough woman. Yeah. But I think we have to be careful as conservatives that a lot of these archaic practices that are based in theological practices need to be removed from kind of our repertoire. And this is conservatives. This is kind of out of character for a Southern governor to do because most of the Southern states still have these laws in place. 12 have followed suit. Amy, go ahead.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It's totally archaic, and I disagree with whoever that guy was that was speaking up saying there was a need for this. I don't care. I hope to God that neither of my children get pregnant young. I mean, of course, I would never want that for them. I would never encourage them to marry somebody at a young age on top of it all. I mean, I feel like that's part of the reason they're doing this. Also, I would like to know what parent signed their 12-year-old child over to a man. I mean, I'm assuming it's a girl, but that they should be arrested, in my opinion. That is like open pedophilia, like they're allowing it. And I'm sorry, they're guilty of it. And I think that they should be arrested. It should be completely outlawed and just wait till you're 18. If you can't wait till you're 18, you need some therapy because there's something else going on that makes you need that piece of paper that badly. You can live with somebody. You can, how can you afford it? I can't afford anything at 18.
I don't know. Like if people said, well, what about if your daughter got pregnant? What would you do? I would institute a very strict schedule where the boy would come into the household during certain hours of the day and participate in raising of the child, if that's what Hayden wanted to do. And it would be controlled and it would be monitored and it would go on until there was a demonstrative behavior that marriage is the right thing. Now, she can do whatever she wants at 18, but until then, I'm not signing any of that. There's no way. This is
I'm 100% with you. Yeah, 100% with you.
Go ahead, Leroy.
I also wonder how far back. I'm not from Virginia, folks, just so that everyone is kind of tracking. So I'm a little unfamiliar with the way the laws are written down there, but I wonder if that is from a day and age where families were formed earlier, where it maybe was a little more common to have a 16-year-old marrying a 25-year-old or something along those lines. But my other my other caveat to that is that's why you have laws that can change. There was a time in American history where slavery was legal. That lady in that video made it absolutely clear that, oh, well, she got married legally. Yeah, okay, fine. That doesn't make it moral. And those are two different things. And that's what we need to start, why we need to start having those discussions, because, things like slavery and prohibition those were both legal, but now they're considered, abolished mostly. And so we have to get to that point where we're talking about just because something is legal doesn't mean that it's right.
Right. Yeah.
And who's going to let their 15-year-old? You can't even drive. You can't even drive under 16, right? I think the driving age is 16 here. You can't vote.
Learner's permit.
You can't drink a beer. I don't even know. I'm not looking forward to those days. I mean, I am and I'm not, but we have a few years to go. But no, I mean, you're a child. You can't do anything. You need to go to school. That's why I tell my kids, your only job is to get good grades.
Yeah, that's right. That's
It.
right. Same
Only
story over here.
Yeah. Don't worry about the rest of the world. Yeah.
Well, it just shows that Governor Youngkin is maybe a little bit more progressive, and I don't think progressive is a bad thing in the real sense of the word. Progressive as a cover up for socialism is a completely different thing.
There you go.
So you can be progressive. There's nothing wrong. I mean, prohibition, was a progressive law. A lot of people say it was regressive, but it was progressive. It was going in the face of for the betterment of the people. And in theory, I'm sure alcohol being banned would have a lot better positive results as far as liver disease and, cirrhosis and car crashes and, abuse and all that other shit. I think it's fun to get drunk and have a few drinks, but overall, I'm sure there's more positives than negative, except that the negative that it does unfortunately apply to people is a choice that is restricting people's ability to just do whatever the hell they want within reason. And I think when you talk about progressive, it can be regressive in its design, but you can also go ahead and look at when they repealed prohibition, that was also progressive because it wasn't necessarily what the rest of the larger cities wanted, but everyone in the surrounding areas did. So once again, it's something that I think everyone can agree on, that kids don't need to be getting married at that age. Right. There was a time that, you did, because back in 1860, you absolutely needed to get married at a young age because that was the expectation. You hit 12 or 14 years old. Those days are gone, and we've created a longer runway. And if we're going to practice what we preach by protecting children, then this is a move in the right direction for Republicans. And I think it sends a very clear message for Youngkin to do it.
And I would like to clarify something, if that's okay. The idea that when I bring up prohibition or slavery or, in this case, marrying a 12-year-old, which seems
JD, thank you for your JD, thank you for your silver membership. Appreciate you, man. $25. That helps. That's every month, man. So that helps out for the annual thing. Thank you, buddy. We'll get you taken care of. Like I said, we're building it now. It's slowly coming together. We should have everything rolling by May 1st. Leroy, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you, buddy.
Yeah. No. Thank you, JD. That when you have a drink, you're not hurting anyone except maybe, a few liver cells. Fine. But when you're talking about slavery, or in this case, marrying a 12-year-old, that is a direct violation against the private property of somebody else. In that case, 12-year-old who cannot make those decisions for themselves. So it is something that is already kind of, laws can be skirted around in order to make it okay. And it's still not okay. Right. If I have a drink, that's one thing. That's on me. I'm not hurting anyone other than myself. But in the case of slavery, or in the case of rape, or things like that's an infringement upon the rights of that person. So it comes at the expense of somebody else, and that's not right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Not to mention too.
Go ahead.
I mean, going back to like when this was established, it was so many years ago. Our life expectancy was much shorter. We did start families sooner. People didn't go to school till they were 18 years old. You went to like maybe elementary, middle school at like 14, I think is when the average kid was done back then. Then you went to work full time in whatever family business you had or whatever. You started your families, you started working, so that made sense for back then. But again, our life expectancy is longer. We go to school till 18. You're not an adult legally until you're 18. If you can't do all these other things, you shouldn't be able to get married. I don't care if you're 3 months shy. We'll wait the 3 months of turning 18. Then you can get married. You don't need my permission at that point, do you?
Well, this also puts pressure. This also puts a very large amount of pressure on Democrats. It's actually pretty smart to look at gender reassignment surgery. And, you know, a kid can't have a gun. They can't drive a car. They can't vote. They can't buy a pack of cigarettes. They can't drink a beer. They can't get married. They can't work. But at 6 years old, they can decide if they're life-changing alteration that will forever scar them and is irreparable. Right. You know, so this is one of the arguments I hear is, oh, well, a kid can't decide his gender, but they can get married, right, or they can go work full time. Well, now you remove that. And this is where conservatives need to be a little bit more progressive sometimes. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Civil rights was considered progressive. I mean, if you really want to look at it. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a little progressive and also taking the things that make us regress and fixing those errors based on today's society. And this is why you also have a great argument with abortion and say, listen, we found abortion to be unconstitutional. We found it to be unconstitutional the way it was implemented. It should be remain with the states. The states have also embraced that children shouldn't be getting married, and this is what the Republicans have done. So we are moving forward with the times, but you need to understand you can't drag us by the coattails and hair and say that, you know, that's best for society. There is a very large group of people who are underrepresented who may not agree with what you think, and you need to respect it. So I think it's great. I love to see it. I think Youngkin is an amazing choice for 2028. I still hold that he will be an amazing choice for 2028. He's my clear. I wish he could run now, but it wasn't his time. And let him finish his governorship, and then we'll see what we get.
I like the idea of progressivism. I embrace it, right? But I think the very first question that has to be asked every time there's a new idea that is brought up under the mask of progressivism sometimes is, does it infringe upon the rights of somebody else? Because if it does, then it's not progressivism, it's regressivism. So right. I think that's the only clarification I'd like to make.
No, I agree with you. I think that's why it's called progress, right? I mean, it's a lot of people think that Roe v. Wade was regressive, and I don't.
I don't either.
I think it going back to the states is exactly what needed to take place. And if it truly is the will of the American people, well, then they will codify it through the states and propose an amendment. If it's not able to become an amendment, which it's not right now, then it's not the right thing for the American people. It's the federal government stays out of it and the states do their job. And that's where I also think that when people say, well, Roe v. Wade's regressive, no, it's not. It's actually extremely progressive because it gives each state the power that it is intended to have. And it doesn't make the federal government force other states to do things. Because I'll tell you what, if this thing ever comes back where Roe v. Wade's implemented, they will punish the states who decide not to embrace whatever they consider to be progressive. And that is not the way it's designed to be. So anyway, just something to think about.
It's also a violation of the 14th Amendment, too. Just saying.
Well, it's amazing that it was attached to the 14th, but it's amazing that it was attached to the 14th Amendment. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Because that's what they did. They attached it to the 14th as a privacy right. Yeah, I don't care how private you are about murdering somebody; it's still against the law.
Right.
You know,
right.
So
if I had a stranger in my house and took a claw hammer to them in my own living room, right, that would be covered, right? As long as it was private, then it's okay.
It can be put the window. If you have the blinds open, you're going to jail. If you don't, you're absolutely fine. Well, and this goes to, once again, liberals being completely overboard with what they say, where it's like, well, I want to be able to have sex with whoever I want in my bedroom. You're right. You certainly can, as long as that person's of age, as long as that's a willing partner. There are stipulations to every rule, and we are all about the right to privacy. But the interesting thing is the way conservatives work is usually with the right to privacy comes a really inherent taste for the law. And usually the law wins out, and that's based upon the documents that we possess. So this is why Republicans are against FISA. It is not because it's not necessary. We understand clearly that it's necessary, but we also understand that the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are really the ultimate goal for every individual citizen of this country and inherent. And you can't spy on Americans just because it's hard. Well, a warrant's hard to get. Well, then you need to figure that out. But shit happens. Well, what if two parties are talking about shooting up a school? Well, then you post people at that school and you go into a preventive mode until you have enough for a fucking warrant. I'm sorry. They'd be like, well, what if you don't want your school shut up? No, I don't. So you have a tip. So follow it up versus the FBI that gets tips and just completely sweeps under the rug and goes, well, we did a door knock. They weren't home and we didn't talk to them for 9 months. And then they shot up a bar. Hello?
Yep.
You don't have to infringe on people's rights to do your job.
Exactly.
All right. Good talk. Good talk. We're moving on. Donald Trump scorns prosecutors. Leroy, your topic. Wanted to talk about it tonight. I got a juicy video for you. I'm going to play it first.
I wanted this.
Yeah, I got your back, buddy. I got a good video for you. I saw your article, but this video is going to give it. This came out after you sent it, and I think this will sum it up. Donald Trump addressed the country and did it live on the old news. Here is a few minutes of that clip, and go ahead and enjoy. The sound's a little bit echoey because obviously he's in a hallway.
Amazing things happened today. As you know, my son is graduating from high school, and it looks like the judge will not let me go to the graduation of my son, who's worked very, very hard. He's a great student, and I'm very proud of the fact that he did so well. And I was looking forward for years to have graduation with his mother and father there. And it looks like the judge isn't going to allow me to escape this scam. It's a scam trial. If you read all of the legal pundits, all of the legal scholars today, there's not one that I see that said this is a case that should be brought or tried. It's a scam. It's a political witch hunt. It continues, and it continues forever. And we're not going to be given a fair trial. It's a very, very sad thing. In addition, as you know, next Thursday, we're before the United States Supreme Court on a very big hearing on immunity. And this is something that we've been waiting for a long time. And the judge, of course, is not going to allow us. He's a very conflicted judge. And he's not going to allow us to go to that. He won't allow me to leave here for a half a day, go to D.C. and go before the United States Supreme Court because he thinks he's superior, I guess, to the Supreme Court. And we got a real problem with this judge. We have a real problem with a lot of things having to do with this trial, including the DA, because you go right outside and people are being mugged and killed all day long, and he's sitting here all day with about 10 or 12 prosecutors over nothing. Over what people say shouldn't be a trial. So I just want to thank you very much. But that I can't go to my son's graduation, or that I can't go to the United States Supreme Court, that I'm not in Georgia or Florida or North Carolina campaigning like I should be. It's perfect for the radical left Democrats. That's exactly what they want. This is about election interference. That's all it's about. Thank you very much.
So almost done here. I want to show one more video and then get to Leroy's thoughts. Obviously, Amy and I will have some thoughts too. Did this earlier today.
Who's that guy?
And tried out a new green screen. It's pretty cool.
I
figured out how to do it where it actually looks really freaking good. So watch this. What's going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation? Matthew Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Today, Donald Trump's criminal trial has begun, and all the usual suspects are there. Well, except for Michael Avenatti, he's in prison. But the other one, Stormy Daniels, after writing a letter in 2018 saying she wasn't bribed and she didn't have an affair with Trump, backpedaled, and of course now she says she did not mean it. Well, then you also got Michael Cohen, this wonderful guy.
Not only is Donald Trump not a racist, he believes that all people are part of one race, the human race.
Sounds very honest to me. I'm sure that testimony is really going to change a lot of hearts and minds, but you're not going to have to, because this is in the borough of Manhattan, where in 2010, only 10% of the people voted for Donald Trump. I guess it's much more fair in 2020, where 12% voted. Of course, this is all ridiculous since Alvin Bragg took misdemeanor charges, which would be a fine and a slap on the wrist, and turned it into felonies after they expired. Definitely something to think about. Leroy, go ahead and break it down for us, man. Want to hear your thoughts on this. Go ahead.
Well, my biggest problems is that during the initial stages, right, during the questioning portion that was happening for the people of the that were going to be attending this for the jury, they made them fill out questionnaires, and the questionnaires were bizarrely like biased. Like one of the questions was, which of the following do you watch? CNN, Fox, that kind of thing. Have you ever been a active participant of QAnon or Antifa? Questions like that were intending to kind of reveal a person's political bias before the trial even started. And that part of it really got me kind of questioning things, right? For anybody who's been kind of watching this, you can't honestly, with a straight face, tell me that Donald Trump is going to get a fair trial in, of all places, New York. Megyn Kelly had actually made the point that in Manhattan, Biden won something like between 87 and 92% of the polls there. And so for this criminal case to be going down the road that it is, something else that was brought up was that it only takes like one person in the jury to influence the others. And because it's not a criminal trial, this is a civil trial, no one is predicting that he is going to come out of this scot-free, or that he's not going to have to pay something ridiculous. So the entire premise for this trial is extremely biased to begin with. And just one of the key indicators to that was, again, the polling that they had the jury, the questionnaires that they were having the jury fill out prior to the trial. I thought that was a little gross.
Yeah.
Right, because should it not be to establish if the jurors cannot be impartial, fair, and equitable in the process of hearing the case, and
right,
open to having an opinion that isn't predetermined. That's what you're attempting to uncover.
Right.
Not somebody's political disposition. I don't think that's for instance, I think it would be okay in a spousal abuse case to say, what is your position on spousal abuse? And do you think that it's a part of marriage, or do you believe that ultimately the sanctity of everybody's safety and integrity is just as imperative, whether married or not? Or okay, that's a good question. But to say, are you a part of QAnon? What you're doing is that you are inadvertently tying the defendant, especially if you are the prosecution, which that has to be a prosecutorial question, I would assume, is that you're attempting to immediately malign the defendant with a conspiracy group,
right?
Which is absolutely like saying, here's an example: do you support the Ku Klux Klan?
Right.
Do you support Antifa? Can you imagine if that question was asked of a liberal? If liberals actually wound up getting, charged with things, so I just think it's very interesting to me is if I was a juror, what I would do is I would say that's none of your business.
Right. Because
it's none of your business, because I don't have to answer that question, because what you're doing is that you are asking me a question that I fail no matter what. I failed because I don't know everything QAnon encompasses. I don't know everything of what they believe. And you're asking me, do I support them? There very well could be something that I support. Like I generally support Christianity, but so does the Klan. That doesn't mean I support the Klan. Right. So you're trying to malign me with things, and I would just say that's really none of your business. That's my right to privacy. If you want to try to establish a general question to find out if I'm going to be good for this jury, that's one thing you can do. But I'm not under trial here. Yeah, I'm not the one under scrutiny. Anyway, Amy, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what my point was. Especially in New York, if you answer yes to those types of questions, you're going on some kind of list somewhere. And they're coming after you at some point with something.
Right.
You get pulled over for a taillight. Well, probably not pulled over in New York, but you're going to have some infraction. They're going to show up to your door one day because they want to see they want to come in and check your Facebook status or whatever they're using now. But it's so many red flags behind this. I think it's absolutely crazy that they're allowed to ask these kind of questions. I thought for jury trials, there was like a set of questions they had to stick to. But, I know they're kind of generalizations, but they're all tailored to each trial, I would assume.
Yeah.
But it's, don't they have to be approved by the judge? If a judge
let
approves
me
these?
get to this question here, because that's going to actually answer your question. Jatovi McDuffie, or Jatavi, whatever one. I apologize if I got it wrong.
I
Says
invited
both
him to debate this, by the way.
Oh, well, then have him call in. I'm not going to waste time exchanging text. Just call in, dude. You can dial in one of two places. You can call in here, and you can click the link. And if you want to be on video, brother, I'll put you on video. And if not, I'll just put you on audio. Or you can call into the number. Who has the number for Skype? Someone link him the number to Skype. I'll answer your question, though, before you call in. And if somebody could please do me a favor and link the phone number for me, one of our mods, thank you. Here's my answer to your question. Not a question, just your statement, because I think it's a good one. This isn't a one-sided thing. For example, if someone has a disdain for Trump, he can be removed from the jury. Yeah, we understand that. But the line of questioning, are you aware of questions that said, are you a supporter of Antifa? Do you believe that the election was legitimate for Donald Trump and Joe Biden? Do you, for example, believe in androchrome? Do you believe that that a baby is at conception a life? Those questions aren't necessarily pertinent to the trial. That's our point. It's not that you can't cross-examine a juror and you can't challenge, because they each listen, pre-law. So I understand where it comes from. You can have a certain amount of challenges from the prosecution standpoint and the defense's standpoint, and questions can be asked. I don't think it's our point to make that questions aren't being asked. It's the type of questions that I would have a problem with, that don't necessarily, they're not relevant to the case. When this is about a payoff, supposedly a payoff to Stormy Daniels on misdemeanor charges that have expired and are no longer relevant, and ultimately were dropped by Bragg in 2016. He didn't want to touch it. State's attorney didn't want to touch it. The DOJ looked at it. They didn't want to touch it. The timing, the fact that he is not allowed. Now, I understand he's complaining that he can't go to his son's graduation. He can't go to the Supreme Court decision. That's just tough shit. That's what happens. When you are in a criminal trial, you show up to every single one. That's the way it works. Or you get held in contempt of court and you go to jail. That to me, that's not surprising at all. He should not get any exceptions unless they're extenuating circumstances of an extreme nature, a loved one dying. He, basically has 104-degree temperature, whatever it could be. So I'm not going to sit here and, throw myself on the rocks for Trump on that, but I will, based upon the entire nuance of the case, which is ridiculous. It is a ludicrous proposal that when the three biggest witnesses in this case that you have are two convicted felons and a whore.
Right.
I'm sorry. Two convicted felons and a whore. There is something about witness credibility that used to be important in trials, and this right here is going to fall apart. It's going to fall apart. The appeal process will be destroyed. The fact that it is in the boroughs of Manhattan, the fact that the process of jury selection is in a heavily favored Biden area in the 26 different districts around this borough in Manhattan, all voted 90-10 Trump, Biden, 90% Biden. The chances of you getting somebody who is truly impartial, who is going to stand the test of time and be that one juror to say, nay, I refuse, I will not do this. The chances of that taking place are few and far between. And anyone who says that they believe that is being extremely disingenuous, and I have a feeling is party pontificating just a little bit, bro. I don't know you, but if Leroy invited you to the show, I already kind of know who you are. Guess he doesn't invite people who he agrees with. I'll just tell you that much. Still haven't got your call in. Anyone else? Amy, what do you think of this? Leroy, we're going to wait for this guy to call in. Hopefully he does.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we all on this show at least agree this whole trial is an absolute waste of taxpayer dollars. Why is this not more of an outrage? I mean, it is a witch hunt here.
Sure.
It's not relevant really either. Like what will be gained even if they do win, which I highly doubt they can win. It just seems completely again, not within the laws. It's not within the scope of the law, so I don't know how any of this is actually going to even pan out. I don't know all the laws in New York. But
Well,
doesn't seem-
it's a misdemeanor,
Right.
and the statute of limitations expired. So what they always do, they rewrite the laws. And a year before 2020 came, he goes ahead and takes these misdemeanors and he tries to tie it into some sort of bribery scandal or campaign finance issues, which is not even a statute that New York has oversight on. Listen, I'm going to say one thing, and this is to Jatovi, or I don't remember his name. With respect, I have a feeling you probably disagree with Leroy, and he's more than capable. He's a big boy. He can handle himself. He doesn't need me doing it. But I would say to you that if you are frustrated by what Donald Trump did, not because it's an opportunity to put him in prison, not to that it's a further opportunity to remove him from the ballot or bankrupt him, which are really the three things that could ultimately take place here. And you are not frustrated, this isn't a whataboutism because this is directly related. If you are not absolutely just frustrated beyond reproach, the $32 million slush fund that Congress has used out of the 300 and something million slush fund for cases of sexual assault, of infidelity, of wrongful paternity, driving while intoxicated, harm and injury to other people. There is a slush fund that your taxes go to every single time, every single year that we annualize the budget. That slush fund is hush money to pay people so our elected representatives are not put into the public light. This is 100% accurate. This isn't a conspiracy theory. I can break it down for you. I can go ahead and give you the actual numbers and sums. I can give you a list of every legislator who's actually used it, but not their names, only their state. And I can't even give you the years because they are protected. Freedom of Information Act, many people have tried to get this information, but it's all sealed. So if we're going to sit here and say that a president of the United States, who we can't even correlate that this was directly related to the campaign, that has to be proven in the court of law. We don't know if this money was given to Cohen because he was having a relationship with her. She wrote now we assume that he probably did diddle her, but she has a letter that she wrote that says she wasn't coerced, that she did not have sex with him, and that she didn't receive any hush money. And then she went back on it in 2020 during an election year. And she also had to pay his court fees twice. Yeah. Those things aren't indicative of honesty and truth and justice. It is a political game. So you're more welcome to come on, dude. I won't even say anything. I know you don't want a piece of me. It's obvious. But Leroy's a little bit. Of course you're not. Yeah. Of course you're not. Yeah, I don't expect you. I wouldn't walk into this buzzsaw. I wouldn't. Go ahead, Leroy.
I would like to add something. So my biggest problem with all of this, first of all, is that for Trump to be tried for this, when unequal application of the laws is clearly at play. In other words, it's an election year. The only reason this is happening, right, is because it's going to affect the outcome in roughly 7 months' time. Because of that, right, because there's been so many other instances, Tara Reid, for example, or, everyone else who's ever been raped, manhandled, whatever you want to say, by a politician, right? We never hear of any of the other politicians who have been treated in quite the same way. So there's like an unequal application of law. Now, if Trump is guilty, then can throw the book at him. I don't care, right? My only objective for this argument, for this line of questioning, is that everyone gets treated the same. Because of that, right, you've seen too many people on the left who seem to get preferential treatment. Certainly some people on the right have gotten it as well, but it seems like there's definitely more of a bias there that is currently foreshadowing the left-hand side of the political spectrum. Until we see equal application of the laws, then I'm going to say something, because I don't think that's right. I don't care that he's guilty. I don't care that he's innocent. I just want the same level of examination to be held to everyone. That's it.
And listen, Jatovi says, I think it's Jatavi. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure.
Again, in bath time, if you want a child screaming in the background, okay, I'm a dad. Doesn't bother me at all. Yeah,
I remember those days.
You should listen to some of the shit that Amy and I have to listen to her house all the time. So listen, bro, I wouldn't
I was
want to
dating
call
Ryan
him
the
either.
other day, and he's 24.
When you see something like this, it's kind of walking into a buzzsaw, right? We obviously know our stuff. We obviously have our arguments tied up. I understand your argument. You made a comment about Michael Cohen. I think you cherry picked. You're thinking that that the FEC and ultimately Congress went ahead and punished him for using hush money, and that it broke campaign finance law. And the reason why it broke campaign finance law, not because of the action, but the volume of dollars that it was. That if he uses campaign funds for this, it breaks the overall singular and duality of campaign contributions by a single voter. So by him doing so, he breaks FEC rules and regulations when it comes to federal elections, okay? So that's very different than he did something completely, dishonest. However, what he did do that was dishonest was tax evasion, lying under oath, which he did multiple times for the benefit of Donald Trump and against him. And those things are very different than being guilty of giving a hush money to Stormy Daniels. You need to understand is that those things are misdemeanors. And the penal code hold on a second.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should be. The penal code, you should count some rosary and lower your head in shame. Smock yourself. So my point is this, is that you can't sit here and compare Cohen, who is been criminally charged with habitual lying. Now, you can sit here and say that Donald Trump lied 36,000 times. You can play that game. I can show you a site that shows that Joe Biden doesn't remember lying 27,000 times, okay? It doesn't matter. You and I both know that that's bullshit, okay? It's bullshit. You and I both know. So what I want to do is I want Donald Trump to be held to the fullest extent of the law for the things that he did wrong. And let me tell you what Donald Trump did wrong. The document scandal, Leroy and I are in lockstep. We feel that he obstructed justice. He hasn't been charged with that, but we both feel he obstructed justice. We also feel that by not following an NARA request, a cease and desist, that he did not listen to on a federal subpoena warranting those records back in the possession to the NARA breaks the Presidential Records Act, which is a slap on the wrist. And so is the obstruction charge. You want to get him for that? Fine. You want to get him for election interference? You're going to have to do he said, she said, and you're going to have to do one word against the other. Good luck with that. You want to get him?
Very difficult to get.
Of course it's going to be difficult because it's all about interpretation, right? To say, hey, man, your state is it's dropping the ball. We're going to lose this election. Man, we need 15,000 votes. Get out there and make sure everything's straight on the straight and narrow. You're going to be able to demonstrate that Donald Trump talks in fragments constantly. And that's will be his defense. Listen, I was talking too fast. I talk in fragments. You're not going to be able to prove shit. We obviously know that the Letitia James case is a complete quagmire, that the E. Jean Carroll thing, all of it, they've already lowered the penalty. This is going to be lost on appeal. It's all he said, she said, but it's a civil court. It doesn't matter. You have really nothing on Donald Trump. J6 isn't going to stick. You're not going to get him for seditious conspiracy or treason. You guys have one case, and the true case is in Florida. But you guys can't bring that case because you got Joe Biden, who did the same fucking thing. You got Obama, who did the same thing, and Reagan, who did the same thing, and every other president before them. So you guys really just need to stop and let this guy hang himself, because that's what Donald Trump will do. Donald Trump will do enough damage if you just leave him alone. But you guys are making a martyr out of him, and you are making a resolution that's going to be unbreakable. If you guys want to see 90 million people show up and vote, keep this shit up. If you want to see 71 million people show up, then just back off and let it die. You and I both know, man, this is not about justice. Because if it was, you would have done it in 16, 17, 18. Oh, well, he can't be tried as a president. That's not true. You can bring charges. You can start investigations. Everything was put on hold until 2020. Give me a break. All right, I'm done. Sorry.
AOC and both AOC and Maxine Waters both had evidence of misappropriation of campaign funds. No trials. Nothing.
No trials. Nothing.
When anybody on the right has anything
Dinesh
like this happen,
D'Souza.
he went to jail. Right?
Went to jail.
And so that's exactly my point, is that there is a hyper focus right now on anybody who is breaking any sort of laws on the right, when really the laws that are being broken in DC is all of DC, both sides of the aisle. And I don't care what side of the aisle it's coming from. Anybody who's committing said crimes needs to be held accountable. I'm cool with that. My problem is that, again, those laws aren't being applied equally.
And to touch on this again, Cohen lied for Trump. Again, you have
That's
absolutely no evidence. You have no evidence of that whatsoever. You have evidence that, see, the first three words of your sentence are absolutely correct. Again, Cohen lied. You added for Trump, which is incontrovertibly false. That has not been proven in the court of law. Cohen has said that. Cohen has said other things too. Cohen said that he was one of the most generous men he's ever worked with. He said he wasn't a racist. He said he was one of the most honorable and law-abiding citizens ever in 2016. Would you like to see the video? This guy is a liar. He is a lawyer. This is what he does for a living. And if he took it upon himself when working with a campaign to go ahead and pay off Stormy Daniels, that's fine. But what I'm saying is that this is a criminal trial, bro. This ain't civil. You have to prove without a reasonable doubt, without a reasonable doubt, that none of this is political. And I will tell you, Michael Avenatti is in jail, is in prison. Cohen went to prison. Stormy Daniels is a whore who lost 2 cases. I'm sorry. If you fuck people for money, you're a whore. Okay? It's not talking about her disposition. It's not talking about her attitude. It's not talking about that she's, a horrible woman. She's a whore. Okay? If you sit there on your knees and 7 guys brick on your face, you're a whore. Okay? That's it. If you're going to sit here and tell me that her losing 2 of her cases and had to pay Donald Trump's fines, that Bragg had a chance to do this in 2016, Department of Justice had a chance to do this, a state's attorney had a chance to do this, all of it was dropped because it was no there. Even the Democratic Party. Your own party, your own talking heads on CNN, your own lawyers are coming on and saying this is an overreach of epic proportions. There is no there. Donald Trump deserves a fine. Donald Trump deserves a scolding, and then move on. But no, Bragg has done and leveraged New York courts to go ahead and witch hunt Trump. You guys can't get him for the things he actually did, because you can't get him on quid pro quo because Joe Biden did the same thing. You can't get him on the things like documents because Joe Biden did the same thing. And unfortunately, that's your fault. That's your fault for picking a crook for 40 years. Joe Biden is one of the most institutionalized politicians in the world. He went after Clarence Thomas. He is the one that sandbagged Anita Hill. Give me a break. Yeah. The only reason, what's interesting is he went after Clarence Thomas, who's black. Then you would think he would defend Anita Hill, and he didn't. He bushwhacked her the same way, and it had nothing to do with her innocence. It had nothing to do with Clarence Thomas' innocence. It's that they were both black.
Right.
Joe Biden eulogized 4 Klan members. That guy says more racist shit than anything you've ever accused Donald Trump of. This isn't a whataboutism about Joe Biden. It's that you don't have a case, because as soon as Joe Biden steps out of that limousine, steps off Air Force One in Delaware or Rehoboth, wherever he decides he's from today, when he does that, he is going to be faced with the exact same shit that Donald Trump is. Republicans are going to destroy this man. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth, brother. Get him on the things you can get him for. Stop making up this crap.
Well, I will say this too, that I came across
incorrect. Dude, you need to hold on. You need to go take care of your baby, because for you to sit here and say the words incorrect, it is an infantile response. If you can't take the time to invest to have a conversation, then you saying incorrect means nothing. It means nothing. It's a waste of my time. Incorrect. What did I say that was incorrect? Name one thing. Go ahead, Leroy.
I came across Jitovi in another room, just so that everyone is aware. And the topic at hand, I believe at the time, was abortion. Me being the, again, you can buy these, folks. Me being the kind of up and reader that I am, I basically just had some questions, and I asked him to defend his point. His point was that abortion should be legal and that I'm telling women what to do with their bodies, blah, 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 blah. I've heard all of these talking points before, right? So I basically just quoted the opening, the preamble to the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, right? And with a caveat to that, that the 14th Amendment says that the government cannot take away somebody's life, right? And that when you follow that up with a government study that cites more than 3,000, almost 4,000 scientists that all agree that life begins at conception, then I ask somebody to square that. Make that argument. Connect those two dots for me, right?
Okay.
And in every case, there is a moral set of gymnastics that has to happen in order for them to try and get around that argument, because you can't. Go ahead.
Yeah, Robert Byrd was praised by all in Congress. No, he wasn't. And you're forgetting Strom Thurmond. You're forgetting George Wallace. You're forgetting Harry Reid. So if you're going to sit here and try to say one Klan member, okay, 2 Klan members, 3 Klan members, a grand wizard, give me a break. And then you're going to go ahead and take some lines and take the things that he has said over his career. I don't know, man. I don't know if you are, if you're really truly paying attention, because I'm going to blast you on the other one too. Here's one for you.
Question, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Better than anybody else. And you don't know my state. My state was a slave state. My state is a border state. My state is the 8th largest black population in the country. My state is anything from a northeast liberal state.
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
You're not telling the truth, because that's not what I said. Robert Byrd was praised by all. I said he wasn't praised by all. That's an absolute, complete fallacy. The Bushes, if you think you're going to get me by going and bringing up the Bushes, the most neoconservative, supposed conservatives in the world, give me a break. Nobody likes the Bushes on this channel, okay? So for you to sit here and say the Bushes, and second, they didn't eulogize him at the funeral.
Right.
Obama
Biden
was there.
did that.
Biden and Obama were there. So was Clinton. So if you're going to say, it's just Democrats, dude, you guys founded the Klan. You founded Jim Crow laws. You believe in manifest destiny, okay? You believe in the Great Society. You went ahead and did red line districting. You did gerrymandering before anybody. You had the 13 southern states that were not the Dixiecrats who voted for Republicans in the great supposed flip-flop of the 1960s, which never took place because 2 House seats actually flipped. And it was actually a zero-sum game. Why did it take 20 years for the southern states to vote Republican? Oh, it was generational change. No, it wasn't. You have been the party of racism. 13 states. Now, plenty of Democrats voted for civil rights. Plenty of Republicans did. But the 13 Democrat states in the South didn't. Now, you can sit here and go ahead and bring up Wallace if you want to. You can go ahead and do you can bring up Goldwater if you want to. It doesn't matter. The point is that all you got to do is look at Democrat policies today. You guys have modern day slave plantations. 37 of the top 50 states are the most deadly in democratically run states. You keep black people down. 75 years, you have done absolutely nothing to help black people. Civil rights was proposed by 2 very conservative Democrats. It happened to be the Kennedys who moved through with Martin Luther King. And if you believe the Kennedys are not closer to Republicans today than Democrats, you don't understand anything. Kennedy was pro Second Amendment. He was pro freedom of speech. He believed in populism. He believed in isolationism. He did not want wars. He did not support never-ending wars. He didn't want to go into Vietnam. He didn't support overall mandated health care. He didn't believe in giving subsidies to black people. He believed in helping people and giving them better jobs and education and treating them like human beings. For you to sit here and say that is ridiculous. The last thing I'm going to say, you said quid pro quo. When did Joe Biden do it? I'll give you 2. The first one was sitting on videotape right before, I think it was 2015. Burisma, prosecutor, the Shokin prosecutor.
Yep.
And he said, I'm not giving you $1 billion. Go call Obama. You got to fire that prosecutor. And by goddamn, at 5 o'clock in that day, he fired that prosecutor. You bet your ass. The second time he did it is during the Afghan withdrawal, when he went ahead and closed Bagram Air Base 30 days beforehand in the dead of night, leaving that area, surrendering all the Afghan regulars there alone in horrible conditions. Left plenty of weapon systems behind. And if you say they didn't, I'm just going to ask you to go and look at the videos of all the freaking helos that would go up, and then the terrorists wouldn't be able to go ahead and keep the rudder straight and would go right back down and crash. There's about 40 of those. You can talk about the weapon systems, the biometrics, what allowed them to go door to door and find NGOs who were supporting America. But let's go ahead and talk about what he said to the Afghan president. And it's actually on a recorded phone call. And I quote, "If you do not do A, B, C, and D, I will pull intelligence and all air support from your country on this exfil. You will allow the Taliban to run security. You will allow this to happen. You will allow A, B, and C. And if you don't, I'll pull it." That's quid pro quo. It's the same level that Donald Trump did to Ukraine. So, bro, you're outmatched. You're outgunned. You don't know what you're talking about. It's not disrespect. Please watch our show more. It'll educate you. You'll get a different perspective. But everything I have said from start to finish since you've come on here can be quantifiably and certified with just a little bit of research. That's all I got for him.
That was my problem, is that most of the arguments that I've ever come across, they tend to be very soundbitey. They are very surface level thinking. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful. What I mean by that is they'll get a hold of a media soundbite, they'll run with it, and they'll just assume that it's true. And 9 times out of 10, with just a little bit more research, which takes time and investment and an actual care into the subject matter, you can find that a lot of times the media is wrong. A lot of times.
And Jatovi says that I'm in a bubble. Have you ever been to Afghanistan? Okay, then you know what the fuck you're talking about. So, first of all, if he dropped Afghanistan down to 2,500, that had nothing to do with the overall security. Joe Biden, in the office of the duly elected president that he started in November, and he was already making phone calls to Afghani president and also Russian government, China, and everyone else, because that's what his job as the president-elect is supposedly supposed to do. No other president-elect had an office. He had 14 months to prepare for the withdrawal in Afghanistan. He surrendered it to a terrorist group in the Taliban. Yes, Donald Trump met with the Taliban. He also did the Abraham Accords, where no other person had ever created peace in the Middle East, with 3 supposed at one point or another, and relief, because there's still areas that were terrorists. But that is why the Middle East was under peace. Also, you know what Joe Biden didn't do? You know what nobody has done up until him, including when he was with Obama, is not one American soldier died in Afghanistan for over a year because of Donald Trump's actions. He left it at the Afghanis' feet, which he should have. 21 years we wasted our brothers and sisters' lives. I would recommend you to shut the fuck up because you don't know what you're talking about, okay? If I'm in such a bubble, come pop it, bitch. Come pop it.
Come on the show. The phone number's there. No one's going to interrupt you.
Come pop
I can't wait to use it in my life now. I'm adopting that in my vocabulary.
What are you going to adopt?
The come pop it, biatch.
Yeah, I just can't stand people. I just can't stand people who pretend that everything. I haven't said that everything you've said is wrong. In fact, I've given you some consolation prizes. I've admitted that some of the things you've said are correct. Everything I've said, you've disagreed with. And no, you haven't. What you've done is you've moved to a new topic, because I obliterate your topic and then you go to a new one. Bro, you are outgunned, outclassed, and you are out. Yeah, you just don't have it. You don't have it.
That's somebody who can't stay on topic, which is why I was really hoping to have this abortion debate, because, again, my points were incontrovertible. No one can get past the logic.
Yeah. More troops died under Trump than Biden. Okay, watch this. Watch me. More people died of COVID under Biden than Trump. See, I can do it too. I can go ahead and say anything, but without context, it's not important. Of course they did. You were in the middle of a full. You were talking about how many millions of dollars a day were being spent in Afghanistan. It took time to unfuck what Obama and Bush and Biden Jr. did. This wasn't Donald Trump's responsibility. Afghanistan wasn't his responsibility. For you to say so is absolutely ridiculous. Donald Trump had no new wars. He's the only president in U.S. history. How's Biden doing so far? How's Israel doing? How's Iran doing? How's Taiwan doing? How's Bosnia-Herzegovina? That's going to fire up again. What about Egypt? How about the Congo? Yeah, you know what? You got 16 proxy wars going on right fucking now. Yeah, Ukraine. You got 16 proxy wars going on right now. The same amount that was under fucking Barack Obama. Go figure. How's that possible?
Oh, that's a mystery.
You're so full of shit, dude. He just doesn't. You don't want to admit that both sides are wrong. Both sides have made mistakes. The only problem is that I can at least admit the mistakes that Donald Trump has made. So far, I've heard nothing that except that rainbow-colored sunshine and poop sherbet is coming out of Joe Biden's ass, and we all know that's not true. Okay, he's done. Move on. Amy, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that.
I love you, Amy. I'm sorry, honey.
I was like, I'm going to just start playing solitaire or something. I have nothing to contribute to that conversation.
Oh my God. This guy, dude, this guy. Get this. Are you ready? Just read it. And then I'm done.
Wow.
Hey,
130.
Hey, Jatovi. The United
I think
States
he means
has,
the game War, where you're playing the card game War.
Hey, Jatovi. I just want to let you know, bro, the United States hasn't declared war since World War II. Okay. Yeah. You're full of shit as a Christmas goose, dude. You are a shit-flavored purple Twinkie, my friend. I'm sorry. You don't know what 130 wars? Yeah. Only person who would ever say that they believe 130 wars were created under Trump have never been to war. Never been to war. No idea what a war is. Okay. I'm done with you, buddy. I can't do it anymore.
Right,
you're driving me crazy. Pastor has some choice words for a peer. I figure you guys would like this one. This one's really interesting. This was a man. You guys have seen these man seminars where they go and they rub freaking pine cones all over their body and go jump in the water and polar bear and try to go ahead and deadlift a freaking Volkswagen. These man things.
Talk about like the strongest man competition kind of thing.
No. It's a man bonding event.
Seminar.
It's a man
Oh,
seminar.
I know what the hell you're talking about. Yeah, where like the CEOs get together, they pay like $1,500 for a week with special operators.
Yeah, you go through. It's the same thing Bill McCartney did with not the Promise Keys, the Oath Keepers. Very different than the Promise Keepers, not J6ers, but more religious. And they go there and they bond, and they get their chakra stones in line. Oh, I don't know anything that they do, because if you have to go to a seminar to be a man, then you're not a man, and you might as well just give it up. So here is this video, and it's honestly, oh boy, thanks. I got to do something real quick while you guys watch this. Okay, so let me get over here and close that, and let me open that. All righty. So
what are we watching?
Well, hold on, dude. It's a one-man show over here. I just got done owning your bed buddy over here.
It's not my bed. I don't even know that fucking guy. Jesus Christ.
You invited him. So.
I did, because I wanted to debate him.
Yeah, that didn't go over very well. So here's the premise of this real quick before we get started. I got to switch your picture, buddy. I got you. I'm sorry.
Oh, I wasn't even paying attention.
I pay attention. I care about you. There's your picture. Okay. So this was a event. Now, before this is Pastor Carroll, I believe his name is. And he is a prominent speaker. And there's two pastors involved here, and I'll get their names. But the first one kind of put on the event. And this guy who is in the red flannel, he is a guest speaker who came in at the behest of the person who's putting on the event, right? And before the show, this man comes out in tight leather pants, a vest, completely hairless on his chest, and he's a male stripper in Vegas. Like, he literally is a male stripper. So he's going to dance on a pole, and this pastor takes umbrage with this. Now, I can't show you what this guy did stripping, but I'll tell you, it's a little much. I got a boner, so obviously it's too much. So here it is.
Good.
It's pretty good. It's not as good as your boy toy that you brought on, but it's still pretty good. Here it is.
But let me do this.
You did.
I've been up since 1 o'clock in the morning. The reason I'm hoarse is I have been praying for you, and my heart is very burdened for you.
Thank you very much. It's Mark Driscoll is his name. Thank you so much, Patriot. I pulled this video and I lost my notes. I was trying to open them up. So yeah, Mark Driscoll is his name. And hey, Patriot, if you could check to see the other guy's name, I would appreciate it. Go ahead.
And I want to be very careful with this, and it's not what I want to say, but the Jezebel spirit has already been here. The Jezebel spirit opened our event. This is a rebuke and a correction of no one. This is an observation. Before the Word of God was open, there was a platform. It was a high place. On it was a pole, an ashtray. The same thing that's used in a strip club for women who have the Jezebel spirit to seduce men. In front of that was a man.
Brian, thank you for your
Thank you,
donation
Brian.
of 3140.
Thank you.
3140. That helps pay the internet, keep the lights on, and then keeps feeding me liberal tears. We appreciate it. It's my energy. It keeps me youthful.
Who ripped his shirt off like a woman does in front of a pole at a strip club. That man then ascended. See, our God is not arrogant. He doesn't ascend. Our God is humble. He descends.
Amy, thank you for your Gold Club donation. You are officially a Gold Club member. We love it. Thank you so much, everybody. Good night
Thank
tonight
you,
for
Amy.
donations. We need it. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you.
He swallowed a sword, and Jesus cried, okay, Pastor John, I'll receive that. Thank you.
So the lead guy kicks him out after a pastor takes a knee in front of men, humbly in deference, bows in the face of the Lord, and challenges the opening act and says, there is no judgment. I'm not passing judgment. I'm just telling you the Jezebel spirit is here. And I want to, I'm not saying I agree with either. I just want you to understand what this guy was doing. He's a guest speaker. He's reaching these guys, right? And this is the reply from the crowd and from the promoter, who I'll find their name. John Lindell kicked him out. John Lindell kicked him out. Okay, here it is.
Let me just say this. If Mark wanted to say that, he should have said it to me first. He didn't. Matthew 18. If your brother offends you, go to him privately. I talked to Mark for a half hour. There was not one word of that. He's out of line. If he wanted to say it, he could say it to me. You may not agree with me. You may not agree with him. But we are brothers in Christ, and there's a right way to handle this.
Well, if your goal was to get testosterone going in those beta males, you certainly succeeded, because they all want to rip your face off and drink your adrenochrome blood. Adrenochrome, excuse me. I don't even know how to pronounce it right. That just shows you how stupid it is.
I don't even know what that word is. You're educating me.
It's the blood of babies that the liberal elite drink, like Oprah and Dick Clark, and they all drink adrenochrome. Lady Gaga, they sacrifice young children. That's what the sex trafficking. It's a Q thing, and it's just stupid. Amy, your thoughts? You look lovely tonight, by the way, and now you get a chance to go ahead and tell us your thoughts.
Thanks. I had put on makeup today and washed
did I.
my hair. Thank you. What do I think about this? I would like to know more context. One, like how far, like, because the second guy was saying, he could have talked to me about this before, which I do agree with.
But let me do this.
Stop. Thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Act happened, and then they had a conversation, and it wasn't brought up. I do think that's something that should have been brought up. I would have never kicked. I just can't imagine, as someone who's trying to. I'm guessing this is like a faith-based. Is it a faith-based men
Yes.
conference? Okay.
That is my understanding.
Okay. So one, you don't have someone who's taking off their clothes at a faith-based conference. I have been to women's conferences through church, not the church I'm with now, a former church. And there was so much questionable things happening there. I was like, I can't, not that kind of stuff, just things that I didn't agree with, that didn't come through the Bible, in my opinion. That's not the word of God. That was just how I felt. Catholics are just, I don't know, I feel like we're just so strict with everything, in a good way. I don't think this should have ever taken place at a faith-based group meeting. I mean, that is kind of low class and just gross, and it's kind of blasphemous. I mean, God did not want this for us. He wants us to take care of ourselves, not do that. And no judgment for anyone who's doing that. That's great. Do you? But it should not be at a faith-based conference. The guy who was calling it out, I think he was doing it with reverence and just saying, like, this is not something we should be glorifying. We're here to glorify God, not this.
There you go.
You know, I agree with what he was saying. But I don't know the context of him. Like, if it was me, I would take it to the head guy. Hey, what are you doing? Was this like to show people that this is what we should not be doing? Like, what's the message here? There would have been a conversation on my end. I don't know the backstory, but I think it's absolutely wrong.
Well,
I think that guy did right to call it out.
He also swallowed swords, which, you know, you got to look at the gypsies and you got to look at the demonic context of that when it comes. It's certainly not a big deal to us when we go to the circus and see somebody swallowing swords, but there are depictions in biblical times and paintings of people who swallow fires of sword to be, you know, Lucifer's minions and demons. And this is religious. You got to be careful because you can't take the sentiment of what you think. You got to understand that there's some people who are very religious and don't believe this stuff. According to Patriot JC, and I don't know if JC stands for Jesus Christ, but if you're going to emulate anybody, why not the big guy? John Lindell, lead pastor of James River Church, ordered Driscoll to leave the stage after he criticized Magala's performance and told the audience to stand up against members of the LGBTQ community. I will say this. Well, I guess he did it afterwards. Here's what I will say. And then I want Leroy's thoughts. Here are mine. The more you make religion about judgment, the more it will continue to die on the vine. We have seen a massive decrease in Christianity in this country from almost 93% of the world believing in a second higher power of some sort to 71% of the United States actually participating in Christianity today as we know it in the past. The prediction is by 2050, Christianity will fall below well below 50% of the country will believe in God at this rate. I think you're going to have to err on the side of God's kindness, his forgiveness, his incredible affable nature, and stop the fire and brimstone and judgmental shit. You are not Christ. Just because you claim to be a Christian, you're not Christ-like. In fact, none of us are. It is an impossible thing for you to be Christ-like. And if anyone tells you that part of your journey here on earth is to be Christ-like, I'm letting you know you're going to fail. And the reason why is because you're a human and you're a sinner. And Jesus isn't. And everything we know about God is that God is infallible and God's plan is infallible and sin is a mortal's burden to bear. So if you want to pretend that you can understand the ways of a deity, then you're the guy who pretends in science that you can explain the known boundaries of space, or what is in a black hole, or what couldn't be or isn't in a black hole. You don't know. So my thoughts are, if you want to expand Christianity, we're going to have to become a little more progressive in our understanding and allow God to take the reins here. Let's assume that maybe LGBTQ people are here and a part of God's plan. And maybe the recommendation of bringing the word of God to those who do not have it might be a good start, and not trying to treat people like the Salem witch trials by not condemning everybody and not necessarily focusing on the sin, but the actual people themselves. I'm not going to get preachy. I'm not perfect. That's why I don't sit here and pretend to be saved by God, because I've got my own doubts. But I know what God didn't say, and he didn't say any of that shit. Go ahead, Amy.
Right. I totally agree with everything you are saying. I will say, I've been to women's retreats and things like that. I've gone to these types of things. There's always an agenda, and it's pretty clearly outlined who the guest speakers are going to be, what their topics of conversation are going to be. There's always like a clear outline. So I'm assuming this would have one as well. I don't think you would just sign up blindly for a retreat or whatever this is called without knowing the topic. And so if that was on the agenda, hey, we're going to talk about Christianity and how to welcome the LGQ plus community into Christianity and not judge them, but also help bring them into Christianity. I don't know. Again, I feel like that would have been outlined in the agenda. I don't know. I wasn't invited. I'm not a man. Again, I'm a woman. I don't know. I'm sure there seems like a lot wrong with this whole situation. And I don't know the church that this was putting on this particular event. I don't know their belief system, but I do agree with you. I think everyone should stop judging everybody else, but
I'm going to give it to you, lawyer. I just want to address the comment. Angel, you know how this goes. We got it. If we don't address the comments, then I break my word. The Bible does tell us who to judge and how to judge. So yes, there are some things we are to judge. I think you missed the portions of the Bible. Here it is. Overall, the Bible encourage believers, if I'm not mistaken, that hypocritical judgment or superficial judgment, it is always trumped by emphasizing love and fairness and compassion. So here is what I've been reading, and here's what I wrote. Judgment reserved for God. Not I wrote. I didn't write this. This is the Bible, by the way. I'm not that good. Several passages emphasize that the ultimate judgment is reserved for God. Romans 14:10 through 13, for example, questions why one person judges another, reminding believers that all will stand before God's judgment. I did this earlier because it was very interesting to me. Accountability in the community, Matthew 18:15, 17, a process for addressing sin within the community, which involves pointing out the fault privately and then escalating it within the community if necessary. That is one passage that I looked up. He misquoted and lied to that audience. It does not say things in private. It says, discuss it, pointing out the fault privately, and then escalating it within the community if necessary. That man felt that it was necessary to escalate it into the community. They were both right and both wrong. One step was missed upon both of them. Righteous judgment. While Matthew 7 cautions against hypocritical judgment, other passages such as John 7:24 advise, do not judge by appearance, but judge with right judgment. This suggests that the judgment itself is not forbidden, but it should be fair, based on truth, and devoid of superficiality. When those speak for God and specifically go back to Corinthians and things to that effect and say that homosexuality or laying down with another man is a mortal sin, folks, I would ask you to read it again and truly understand before you go ahead and cast type against every person you disagree with. Lastly, do not judge rashly or hypocritically. Matthew 7:1-2, which says, do not judge, or you too will be judged. So once again, the Bible is a lot of hypocrisy at times, and it's very vague. So what I would try to do is stick with the specifics of the Bible that talk about compassion and love and understanding of your fellow human being, first and foremost before anything else, because that's what Christianity is all about. At least that's my interpretation. Leroy, go ahead. Amy, am I wrong? Am I crazy? Am I saying the wrong things? Go ahead, Leroy.
So, first I would note that it seemed like that pastor at the end, it was he that was more or less running the event. So for this person to have come on and then maybe taken it down a road where the pastor didn't necessarily agree with it, right? Because it was his event, I get the idea that, hey, wait a minute, you didn't clear this with me, right? But there is a fault of man that's kind of a general message in there, i.e. that there's a level of acceptance or unacceptance of particular people based off of the messaging. Now, with that, would we have had a bigger issue or a lesser issue had that been a drag queen? Would we have had a similar issue had that been some other 1800s freak of nature?
That's really interesting. That's
Right,
that's a
and-
really
and-
hold on. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Hold on. You when you make great points, give that pause. Take a second. That is an amazing point. Because what would that audience have done if it was a drag queen?
Right.
Holy shit! Now I want you to imagine the pink boa, the giant eyelashes, the bazungas that are basically size 14 socks. Would that entire crowd have turned? Would both pastors stood shoulder to shoulder and condemn that person? Then what makes it different from some man who's half naked swallowing swords, who has pictures of him filleting other men in Las Vegas? Go ahead, Leroy.
Exactly. And so more than anything, I don't think I would come at this from the perspective of criticism or judgment, but one of just asking clarifying questions. Hear me out. When are we going to get back to a place where services like that, which are obviously intended to be spiritual in nature, when are we going to push beyond that and say, all right, look, let's look at the spiritual and kind of pull back a little bit. If we're trying to tell people to be maybe less sexually deviant, maybe we shouldn't have that kind of thing being paraded around. So my perspective is just one of, hey, let's ask more clarifying questions, not necessarily judgment, because honestly, I don't give a shit. Matt, Amy, you both know this. I don't care who you bang, who you blow. I don't care. My only question is, if this is intended to be a spiritual event, does this cross that line? I don't know.
Amy's got a lot to say. Amy, let me put a bow on my thoughts and then you tell me if I was wrong. The Bible encourages believers to be discerning but warns against harsh, hypocritical, or superficial judgments, was my statement, emphasizing love, fairness, and the ultimate authority of God is judgment. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. And I'm not like a Bible scholar, but I do study the Bible. I've done a lot of research on it as well. The Bible, and if you do study the Bible, then I think people who know would agree with me on this as well. But there's a lot of judgment in the Bible, and it's never, the people who are making judgments never seem to fare well in the Bible, right? It is for God to judge. Also, the most prevalent word in the Bible, it's repeated the most times, is love, because the whole point of the Bible is to love, to show people the grace of God. That's what he wants us to do, to extend his grace, not the judgment. We are not here to say this is right and this is wrong for you to do. You're here to say this is right or if this is wrong for me to do. And I am with Leroy. I don't care what you do. Do whatever you want. I don't want to see it, though. I don't. So please don't show me. But I don't care what you do in your own home. You won't see me out in public doing what I like to do because it's not for anyone else to know. And that's just how I like to live my life. But again, this is a religious gathering. I assume, and maybe it's not. And again, if this wasn't the agenda to say, hey, we're going to include that community, the alphabet community, we're going to bring them in. I always mess it up. So I just.
So do I.
So do I. Don't even try.
I
Just
always
don't
mess
even
it up.
try.
I know.
love it.
So I always mess it up. I don't want to be disrespectful. I just always mess it up. It's, again, I don't know why you would have a stripper, even if you want to embrace that community. I don't think that is what their community is about. And maybe I'm wrong. So unless it's like a stripper convention, I don't see why this is at a freaking religious gathering.
It's a man's conference, and that they're trying to do is demonstrate that the human body can do miraculous things. This guy was using abdominal strength to ultimately put himself vertical and move in variant degrees till 12 o'clock and use his arms and his strength. It's an amazing feat, and it's very similar to Cirque du Soleil. You don't need to take your shirt off to do it. A stripper pole, I think that's a bit much. But when you look at the nuance behind this, when it comes to this guy's history, and these guys go home and go, hey, honey, look at this guy who did this amazing thing. And then, the kids go and Google him and see him filleting another guy in Vegas. I think that's going to send the wrong message. So my point is, you should have background checks is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I had another thought came to mind. Okay, so this guy comes out, does this performance. It's very physical in nature. People are rolling their hands over his washboard abdominals. I get that. Fine. Next guy comes out, basically criticizes that, basically says, hey, look, that was maybe a little bit over the line. Then the pastor comes back out and says, nope, we never agreed to that. You're over the line, buddy. But the first guy wasn't.
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, there's
Yeah.
the conversation that can be had there.
I don't think this was, it could not have been a religious event. I just don't.
Dude, it's two pastors. What are you talking about? I mean,
I don't know.
He got on his knee and started quoting scripture. Here's my thoughts on this real quick. Is that the original guy who took a knee in the red, and I'm tired. I can't remember his name. Doesn't matter. It's Monday. Holy crap. He should have reached out to the event holder and had a conversation. Fine. But the second pastor should have done his due diligence to ensure he knew what was being presented and the person who was presenting it. And the second thing is that he should not have embarrassed that other pastor. He had pride. One of the guys, I think they both demonstrated pride to a point where it was a detriment, that they did not come as very pastor-like. It could have been, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Shake his hand, have him off stage, say, even though I don't agree. And even though I think that could have been done in a different way, it was important for the message because the message was pertinent and we can apply it to the everyday walk of life. Even though I don't think it's necessarily should be applied to what we just saw, but that's a conversation for another time that I'll have with my good friend. But as of right now, so that's like what we do here. There's times I don't agree with Leroy and Leroy doesn't agree with me, but we don't sit here and undercut each other simply because we don't like. We try to make points that show a support for conversation and encourage people to be included. Here, this was a pride thing. It was very non-pastor-like, in my opinion.
There are ways to progress the conversation rather than to tear it down and start calling each other names, because that solves nothing.
Amy,
Right.
you wrap us up before we go to the next one.
Yeah, really quickly, again, I just want to say this again. Every conference I have ever personally been to or even heard of was a personal experience for you to grow in your relationship with God, to grow as a person, to better yourself.
Well,
And
that front row is growing.
that's what I'm saying. Like I want to know the name of this conference. I have to look this up. It's hard for me to believe this was a religious conference. It could have been like, hey, it's like a party. Maybe it's sponsored by a pastor. It just doesn't ring any kind of spirituality, religious, anything to me.
I look at it this way. A congregation is supposed to lift people up, not tear them down. Yeah. And I think Izzo says it best, is that he says the love of Christianity has never been demonstrated with so much hate.
Yeah.
And I got to kind of agree with Iz here, man, is that there's some very judgy Christians out there. And I'll tell you that this is one channel where if you expect me to bash on homosexuality and transgenders, no, not going to fucking happen. Not on this show. If you want me to question some of the things that are being said and done that I disagree with in the community, I'll critique Jews, I'll critique Muslims, homosexuals, straight, I don't care, Jew, Gentile, but it's not going to be because of their choices. It's not going to be specifically about that. I can say that I think homosexuality is detrimental to human nature, because it is. Our job on this earth really is for me to spread my seed and for a woman to have a child. That's really, like everyone else in the animal kingdom, that's what our ultimate role is at the highest scale. And then we can start getting into nuance. So it's antithetical to a thriving society. Ask the Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
The Japanese would rather just not have sex and have kids because they can't have an 18-year-old. See, Japanese culture believes in youthful women as partners, and the older generation are not able to get this new generation of younger women, concubine type things. It's killing the entire state of Japan. These men are not taking women. They're not taking wives anymore. Women in Japan are liberated and completely just disassociated with having children because it's not economically viable. And with that, you're going to have, by 2030, Japan will have the oldest generation on the planet of elderly mixed in their overall society. And they say by 2050, Japan could be at 49% of its current population,
Yeah.
Holy shit.
No,
That means Japan crumbles. Japan is no longer a country. Japan infrastructures, economy will be gone. Everything.
There is a
Go ahead,
reason.
Leroy.
There is a reason Japan went the way of trying to figure out the idea of robotic assembly, right? Because when you don't have a suitable workforce, right, then what do you do with all of these labor needs? You come up with ways to supplement that. There is a reason Japan went ahead and plucked out of their island economy the automotive industry and said, you know what? We're not going to manufacture it here. We're not going to keep things in-house. Let's go ahead and build where the customers are with robotics, right? Because their demographics are in steep decline. But to that end, so is China, Germany, most of Europe. Italy is down the tubes. Canada is bad. So there's a lot of countries that are fighting this very same problem right now. So yeah, I get it.
I think it's disingenuous for people to quote Leviticus, because you certainly don't follow anything else in Leviticus. So if you're going to quote Leviticus and say that homosexuality is amoral, which there are other, in Paul will say the same thing in the New Testament, I get that. But don't quote Leviticus, because you're not talking about planting crops side by side. You're not talking about wearing certain types of different fabric. You're not talking about selling your children into slavery. You're not talking about touching, dead things on the Sabbath. Those are old. When you want to talk about the Old Testament, those particular writings in Leviticus are from Jewish writings and Judaism. And I think, and not that I have a problem with Judaism, because I don't care what you believe. What I'm saying is it's really difficult for me to take you seriously when you quote Leviticus and you don't do the other things, because at one point the Catholic Church believed in slavery. And if you ask me the question, Matt, what do you think is worse, slavery or homosexuality? Slavery, without a fucking doubt. Every single day and twice on Sunday. What's worse, slavery or homosexuality? Mm-hmm. Slavery. There is no question. Like, if I had a choice to own a slave and destroy all gay people, or become gay and stop slavery everywhere, I'd be sucking dick every single day of the week. How about you? What will you do for mankind? So my point is not to say, be gay. No, that's not what I said. What I said is that slavery is 1,000 times worse than being gay. And if that's wrong of me to say, then I'm wrong. If I'm going to go to hell for that, I'll go to hell for that. But I think we are very, very selective about what parts of the Bible we emulate and what we use for our advantage, and then refuse to follow. Because if I'm not mistaken, every word in the Bible should be followed to a T. And if that's the case, then I've got some umbrage with some of the things said. Yeah. Amy? Amy? No, Amy's turn. Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, no, I think I've said I honestly I agree with everything you're saying. I don't agree with this whole conference thing. I'm going to look it up because I want to know what the agenda was. It was in Vegas, so I'm assuming that was part of the.
You're so upset by this. I tagged it for you. I have the name. Stronger Man's Conference in Las Vegas.
I saw.
First of all, it's in Las Vegas. What are you doing in Las Vegas? Why are you in Las Vegas?
Sin City. To help convert people.
Oh, that makes sense.
I don't know about that.
No, I don't know, right? We're supposed to be evangelists, right? We're supposed to. I'm not very good at that. I'm not a good Christian. I know that, but I just have a lot of problems with this conference. I do, just based on what I know, and I don't know enough. I want more information because I do have a problem with what's presented as it's been presented. It seems wrong.
And I think people need to take my analogy in tongue in cheek, because more dick and mouth, because it was a joke. It was a joke. So yeah. It's an impossible situation that will never take place. But I wonder what people would do if faced with that question, which is a ridiculous question. It's kind of like the indecent proposal. No one's going to ask to sleep with your wife for $1 million, and if they are, take it. No, I'm kidding. Right. But the point is slavery is far worse, and selling your children into slavery and stoning your mother these things, killing your brother for planting crops side by side that are of not the same yield is insanity. And nobody questions that. But there was a time they did. We also threw women in the water, and if they sunk, they were free of being witches, and if they floated, they were burned at the stake. There's a lot of things that we've done throughout man's history that doesn't make much sense. I would ask us to relook at homosexuality and truly ask ourselves the question: is this the biggest fish we have to fry, or should it be the absolute empirical fall of Christianity in our country that is happening at such a exponential rate that if we don't do something to become a little more understanding and less judgmental, I'm afraid that Christianity is going to become the minority for the first time in this country in the next decade or two. That should bother everybody.
Yeah, it does bother me. Sorry, really quickly, Ray. It does bother me, but there's a lot of religions that are very strict and they stick by their guns and they don't care if they're not bringing it. They want people to believe in the faith as depicted under their umbrella. And I think the Catholic Church is a really good representation of that. Although you have the more,
What are you talking about? You're the most progressive church ever in history. You guys are talking about accepting gays into your church. What?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are now. We're very slow to the times.
You guys are proposing abortion. I mean, they're not openly condemning abortion anymore in the Catholic Church. It's closer to Christianity. Well, it's closer to Christianity than it's ever been. That's the thing about Christianity. It was just all about, listen, if you don't believe, you don't have to believe. Here's what we believe. Here's what we think. Join us. Now it's join or die. And I don't, this white Christian nationalism bullshit, I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't want it anywhere near me. You're not that way. I'm not that way. Where we live isn't that way. That's not what I'm saying. But there is a very big element where if you don't agree with us, you're the enemy and you're Satan.
Right.
Whoa.
Right.
Not my religion, not Christianity. That's not what Christianity is. So I'm not knocking Catholicism. What I'm saying is this is the most progressive Catholic church ever in history. And for anyone to say that the Catholics are following through with dogmatic principles, I disagree. I think this Pope is completely off his fucking rocker.
I wanted to address a comment. Amy Stancombe, God love you, right? And I wanted to make sure that I address this. Izzo mentioned something today about Hitler. He suggested that we never know what was going through someone's mind in his last moments. He could have repented his sins to God and asked if Hitler was going to get into heaven. Izzo didn't think so, but no one knows. I don't argue that point as good as he did. Watch the show. Now, first of all, I need to make the point that I didn't get to work with Izzo yet. I wanted to try and get on last week and work with the guy and hash it out with him a little bit because I love his show. I loved after Matt had pointed it out, I subscribed to him and have been trying to get caught up on the guy ever since. Now, that being said, what Hitler did was to violate the third commandment, which said that it's the misuse of God's name, not necessarily saying damn it or anything like that. That's not what he was referring to. In the Bible, it is taught, right, that you're not supposed to misuse God's name, i.e., to use his name to justify some level of violence or murder or things like that, to go down and pursue either a political or a authoritarian type path and use God's name to do it. And this is really a prime example of this. Might be something where we see from I'm not saying this for all Muslims, but where the Allahu Akbar kind of thing, where if things are a holy war, right, and you're invoking God's name to say this justifies me killing you, that person is going to hell. The Bible states that, and that there is no forgiveness for it. So I don't think that Hitler is in heaven right now, having thrown himself at God saying, hey, I'm sorry. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to say to the Spreely members of the group, we've extended 30 minutes. So we'll have you here. Amy, what's up?
I just wanted, because Judy St. Vincent was saying Catholics are Christians.
Yeah, I want to address it too.
Okay.
You do first.
I'll just say that, yes, Catholics do believe that we are Christians, but Christians do not believe that Catholics are Christians. We're
Yeah,
a
I don't either.
Wait.
Yeah.
department.
Listen, you can say that you're a Christian, but I take umbrage to say that Catholics, that they practice the same way.
We don't.
You don't. And so I will say this: we believe in Christ, and the similarities are there, but when it comes to how we practice our faith, we are very different. I believe that false idols are. Listen, I'm not going to get into judging Catholicism. Okay, that's not my job. I don't dislike Catholicism. I don't like. I don't like rituals.
Vegetables.
I'm not a ritual person. And I certainly don't believe in some of those things. I don't think I should ever bow before a man. I don't think I should ever confess to a man. I don't think I should ever get on my knees and have a very phallic relationship as a waiver is shoved down my throat. I'm sorry. I don't believe I should drink the fluid of the blood of Christ from. I'm not into it, man. It doesn't mean I'm judgy. I just think Christians and Catholics celebrate and execute their religion in a different way. Okay, that's it. So yes, Christians or Catholics. I get yelled at every time I'm doing this. I'm sorry. I think I agree with Amy. Okay, so here's the video. Here, it's really hard sometimes I got to ride such a fine line.
Guys.
You offend everybody nowadays.
Process through my brain. I am fine with, and I like to think that, because this is the struggle part I have. I like to think that if I go to heaven, I'm going to be sitting right next to my fucking chief, who I think is the scum of the earth, and we're going to be eating dinner, and I'm not going to have a problem with him. Because ultimately, the way I look at it is, my niece is 4 years old, and she lost her shit yesterday.
Let me try to find this segment.
L. Ron Hubbard promises eternal life.
Like I say it all the time, I'm not a Christian. I cannot, in Buddhism,
no level of contrition that can truly.
Oh, here we go. Okay, listen, Leroy, this is where you can't talk, right? Because they can't
It's
hear.
really important to understand is that you can go confess to a priest.
I'm like, man, I am a horrible, horrible human being. So why should I believe that, oh, I'm going to heaven because I accepted Christ and I'm so saved, this and that. So you're going to tell me that Hillary Clinton can't be saved? Or Joe Biden? Or fucking Adolf Hitler by the power of my God, Adolf Hitler on his deathbed in Argentina could have said flat out, man, I really fucked up.
I saw what you did there.
Yeah, I know.
I saw what you did there.
I should not have done that to those Jews. I repent. I accept Christ as my Savior and King. I am repenting.
This is a person who cusses, who has transvestites on his show, but he is a religious man. I mean, he has a very close relationship with God. He loves God and he professes it every day, but he also challenges organized religion. So for him to allow me, I really love Izzo. My loyalty to this guy is I love that he allows me to have a take and he doesn't cry when I say something. And he's not afraid to say, you know what, that's a really good point. Here's the comments. This show will be burnt and put on tomorrow, but here it is.
By the way that our faith is, 100% Adolf Hitler could be in heaven today. So why would I say?
Well, there's a caveat. There's a caveat.
I'll hear your caveat out. But my point is that
okay, go ahead. You go.
My point is yes, is Judaism satanic, Catholic Church satanic, fucking Islam satanic, 100%. Go ahead, all you.
So, I think that's a little bit of a misnomer when it comes to showing contrition. It's got to be real, and just the words. I struggle with organized religion. In fact, the things I've been through. This is a whole nother episode, and this episode would take a long time. But probably one of my most popular episodes, as 1.5 million viewers, is when I went through my experience with the organized Catholic Church and being raped by a priest. And when I was a very young age, and, trust me, man, having some guy who is on a podcast do that, who has try to live up to an image as a tough guy, it's kind of hard to do that, but it's it's not something that, you know, I would recommend everyone, if you have that experience, is to get it out, talk about it, whatever. But I've got my own problems with the churches. But I think it's really important to understand is that you can go confess to a priest and you can be completely full of shit. You can go through the process of counting rosary and showing some sort of penance and contrition. But if Lord and God and Jesus is truly King or Allah or Buddha or whatever else you want to believe, then we'd have to assume that that person's omnipotent. And if they're not, then they're not a God. And they certainly aren't worth worship. So they would have the understanding, if you were truly sincere and asking for forgiveness simply for a ticket to paradise, or you were truly showing contrition.
I get no disagreement with that. I have zero disagreement with Hitler.
I don't think Ted Bundy and Hitler and Richard Ramirez and you know could just simply ask for forgiveness. But this is where I come from when it comes.
Who are
to
they
this
asking forgiveness from, though? That's my only point, right?
So anyway, if you haven't had a chance to watch Izzo,
I would like to have caught that, and I would like to have had some level of exchange because I think there's an argument to be made there, and I understand what he's saying. I do, and I can respect that. The Bible, the actual third commandment, right, says, "Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain," which means to not misuse his name. And it is stated in the Bible that anybody who does, it is considered an unforgivable sin. Now, can an argument be made that Hitler is in heaven? Sure, maybe. However, to your point, Matt, and this is really relevant. You made the point of contrition. You made the point of saying, look, if somebody apologizes and means it, there's a chance. Sure. Is there the chance that somebody apologizes and doesn't mean it? If it's not here, if it's not in their heart, right? All right, fine. Let's go with that for a hot second. Now, if I go out and kill somebody, right? Can I apologize to God and it potentially be forgiven? Yeah, maybe. If I go and kill somebody and use his name to do it, can I potentially be forgiven? According to the Bible, no, but let's just say for the sake of argument that, yeah, maybe. Okay. All right. What about 2 people? What about 5 people? How about 6.5 million? That's a lot. The odds of that are thin to none. That's my only point.
As far as Debbie's point, that I would understand Izzo more. Listen, I've spent countless hours with this guy. He recruited me in a spree. I think I understand Izzo just fine. I don't need to watch a movie to encompass who Izzo is. I didn't disagree with his point. What I said is simply asking for forgiveness and slapping some holy water on the wound and walking out and counting 10 rosaries somehow forgives you of all sin doesn't take place without contrition.
Right.
You have to be sorry. You have to accept Jesus Christ into your heart and soul. And that process doesn't happen on a whim. And listen, if I'm gonna be blasphemy, I apologize, God. If God's that dumb, I don't want to follow him. And I don't think he is. In fact, I think we can't comprehend what God's plan is. We don't understand it. And that's why I think we shouldn't be so judgmental. I think we should follow the word of God, which is to love with no equivocation. And I try every day to fail at that. And I do. I'm really bad at it. I'm really bad at loving everybody. Because sometimes I just want to beat the merciless shit out of some of you. Just to be completely honest. Is that a sin? Oh. Not anyone who's regular, but just some of the people who come in here. I'm just like, oh my God. Anyway, welcome, and let's end it. We've got about 5 minutes, and I just quickly want to talk about every topic because I don't want to leave a topic on the table. Protesters. This shit's got to stop. Yeah. I mean, we are getting to a point, dude. Hey, Mel. Thank you for your $50 for the Gold Club member. We gained 2 Gold Club members and a Silver member tonight. Thank you, guys. You know what I want more than anything?
So much.
Can I just say what I want more than anything else in the whole world? I just want to get syndicated. I want to get syndicated so we can frickin' like Leroy can get the fuck out of the Navy. You can get out of real estate, and we could just, all move to a general location and just do this the right way. Listen, we're growing. We've a very loyal audience. If anyone can't tell, just by the contributions and what they do, I love everybody. I do, even though I don't always love you at the same time. I do love everybody. I really do. Sometimes I hate you, but it's really kind of a love-hate relationship. Thank you, Mel, for your donation. That is huge help. Big tonight. That helps out. These protests need to stop because it's not protesting. First of all, you have to petition the government for a protest. A petition doesn't mean you have to get a bunch of people to sign a piece of paper and then all of you agree to go ahead and do what you do. No fucking way.
What happened?
Oh!
So I can show you actual reality and the logic and the fragment that was with that.
Dominic Izzo, thank you for joining us. But I want to ask you one more question.
Are you fist fucking me right now?
Dom got St. Uyghur. Oh my God, I got a boner. I got a total. Oh, shh. Everyone listen.
Now you're stepping into my wheelhouse and you're not going to survive that argument. I'm sorry.
All right. Unfortunately, we're out of time because I could have that argument for half an hour.
I'd love to.
Stat after stat.
You can show stats for stats, but I can show you actual reality and the logic and the fragment that was with that.
All right. Dominic Izzo, thank you for joining us. But I want to ask you one more question, Dominic. Let's just go for a little bit on that. So same number of white people and black people smoke pot. Black people get arrested at about 4 times the rate. Are you saying that race has nothing to do with that?
Oh,
I am.
You got to go back to see my logic and my research about why I wound up running for sheriff. 100%. I want to go a little bit long, and please edit this where you need it. But the Cook County Sheriff's Department out here in Chicago, it's the #1 jail in the nation, I believe. We houses between 9,000 to 10,000 people. If you look, now this will be my conspiracy theory, right? I can't prove this, but you take a culture and you keep that culture segregated in their own area, right? Public housing, we'll put them on whatever government aid they need. There's been talk all the way back from the Lyndon Johnson days about introducing welfare to separate the families from, from the families. You have a broken school system. The Chicago public school system is abhorrent. I believe in 2016 they had a 67% black male graduation rate. So now you have uneducated black males who can't get jobs because if you've ever driven down any street that
I want St. Uyghur. I've wanted this guy since 2016. I want this guy. You know what? No, I don't. I'm done. The fact that Dom, the fact that Dom got him, I'm done. Like I've lived vicariously through. I'm spent. I'm just gonna get a moist toilet. I want to listen to the rest of this.
Off the 290 in Chicago, you're going to see neighborhoods that are destroyed. Everybody comes to Chicago.
Deb, I'm not. Please, Deb. We haven't had anyone offended. Don't get offended. I just said I don't need to watch a movie to understand Dom Izzo. That's all I said. I'm not offended. Don't get offended. We're having a good night. Everyone was happy.
Oh, this has been the best night
that
I can remember.
Pardon my sacrilegious son of a bitch. Every night I got to go after show and hunt down people's email and phone number and apologize. I'm not mad. I just said I don't need to. I know you want me to watch The Shack. I've written it down.
But I don't
need to watch. I don't need to watch the movie to understand Dominic Izzo because that doesn't encapsulate him. I understand him completely. I love the guy. I watch his stuff every day. So, Deb, I love you. I'm not mad. Please, I don't want to do this tonight. God almighty.
Where do they go? Michigan Avenue, State Street, the tourist areas. All you need to go is 5 minutes south with no traffic, and you're going to see a completely different Chicago. Now, you flood the areas with gangs and drugs, and the only thriving business is a liquor store. You now have laws that are created. This is where I agree with you on the law enforcement. See, cops are put into the academy to just to sit there and think that drugs are bad. I am vehemently against the war on drugs. Now you have all of your probable cause to stop any black kid you want. You throw that black kid in prison. He stays in the jail for 2-3 weeks. If he had a job, he lost a job. Now you have to create more jobs in the county system. Because we could talk about what happened with Governor Pat Quinn and him losing his reelection, and then all of a sudden your county sheriff going from 3 directors to 300 good government jobs, and you create programs. You can't create.
Man, I'll tell you what, Cenk Uyghur has changed. He would never let somebody say this shit. I got to give Sank some credit. Maybe he has. I've heard he reinvented himself. The fact that he's allowing Dom to talk, and I didn't say what Dom said was dogma. My point is that you have to have contrition in order to be forgiven by God. That's what I said. Okay, cool. We're done.
Like a drug addiction program, and not have bodies in there. So what do you need? You need bodies in the jail to go through the court systems. Then court systems assign those kids to wind up going to those drug programs. People are employed. And if I was a manufacturer of toothpaste, soap, prison uniforms, bed sheets, you name it, what do I want, the contract for a prison that holds 100 people? Or do I want the contract for Cook County Sheriff's Department out here in the Chicago area, where I know that those uniforms are going to get used because they're going to keep pumping bodies back in there? So the biggest problem that everybody looks at is they always think the street cop is the problem. No, you want to look at systemic racism, you need to go to your courts. You need to look at the deals that the defense attorneys make with the state's attorneys. You need to look at your sheriff's department. You need to look at your Cook County board president. The street cops, as bad as this is, and I saw a very big turn for this back in the late or the early 2000s, is your quality of candidate who's so quick to say yes, sir. And I was one of them in 2000. When you get your first marijuana arrest, and you've got an erection the size of Montana because you stopped somebody with weed. It's ridiculous. So what I will agree with you on is that the laws that are in place right now that cops are enforcing are put 100% on the books, designed to keep black people in prison. It's for profit. So I believe that the whites will have a lesser sentences because of the attorneys they have. I believe that blacks wind up going through public defenders. I will tell you firsthand, public defenders are there to make deals. That's it. And the system keeps going and going and going. But the easiest person to throw under the bus will always be the first person they came in contact with, which is the police officer.
That was the most ironic thing I've ever heard. And I'm glad we had that conversation, because what you outlined there is a textbook case for systemic racism, and exactly what progressives say. So like when I talk about police brutality, I say, yeah, we should hold the police accountable 100%. Derek Chauvin needs to be put away for a long time and probably for life. Okay. Now, having said that, who gave them the orders? Who trained them? Who put them in that neighborhood in the first place? So, and who built this system? And so what you're talking about is exactly what systemic racism is. And it's done by society, it's done by politicians, and it's done by the rules put into place, and that winds up.
Whoa! Pause that.
I know. That's
men and women.
I love when he snips shit in. Go ahead.
Pause that. Okay. So the problem from Cenk Uyghur's point of view, directly from his mouth, is if the problem is at least part of the politicians, then why the fuck would you continue to vote in a pattern that gives more politicians more power?
That's right. It's
hypocrisy.
So, it's antithetical to your argument, right?
Yes.
You're sitting here out of one side of your mouth and saying government's the problem, and your entire party wants more government.
Exactly.
I'm with you. All right, let's. I'll tell you what. I know why Senk's doing it. I told you he's trying to rebrand his image. Deb, don't be mad at me. I got to call you now. I'm so pissed. I love her.
Never call me.
No, I had to call Deb because I don't ever want her to be mad at me, but I have a shorthand with her. She's like a second mom. So I just say what I want to say, and I didn't mean it to hurt her feelings. I'm going to watch the damn movie, okay?
Yes.
This is almost over. Hold on.
And so there's tremendous irony there, but Dominic, then don't you see that Black Lives Matter is saying that's what we're fighting against?
No, because Black Lives Matter is going solely at they're not going at the problem. They're going at a sniffle. They're not going at the virus that's in the body. You don't see Black Lives Matter talking about our judges. You don't see Black Lives Matter talking about the politicians.
No, you don't.
Republic. If there is an example, I will be more than happy to support Black Lives Matter if Black Lives Matter is going behind the scenes, taking on the politicians who are then.
And here's my argument that I'm in support of Dom. Please tell me the 5 leaders for BLM and where they actually stand on going after progressive DAs, where they stand about going into Democrat cities that have politicized police chiefs, which have governors running the city police and not the mayors. Please tell me where they stand, and you can't, because that argument is not being made. It's being made that there is systemic racism in every single beat cop in the USA, which is bullshit. Their argument is that unarmed blacks are being shot by cops, which is a complete fucking lie. On average, over the last 10 years, between 14 and 17 unarmed blacks have been shot. Over 257 whites have been shot unarmed. Give me a break. So this is my problem with BLM.
He also doesn't make the distinction when he does cite his statistics, and I've seen him do this before, where he will make the distinction between whites and blacks in terms of criminals, but not whites and blacks in terms of cops.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And saying, here's the adage. When you ask that question, oh, black cops can be racist too. What? Wait a second. Huh? Let me get this straight. Whites are racist. Blacks can never be racist, but black cops can be racist against blacks. Right. Can someone write this down for me so I can comprehend?
I don't know. There's a flow chart somewhere.
There's got to be.
Diagram.
Amy, I love you. Did you have something to chime in before I started again? Really, there's like 2 minutes left in this.
No, I'm just enjoying this listening.
All right. This is so good. It really is. And I love, Izzo shocks the shit out of me because I know he has a relationship with TYT. And you know what? I don't have a problem with Cenk Uygur. I would actually really like to talk to the guy. He gets fired up on some people who won't listen. Dom is a very good listener. Dom is an exceptional debater because he doesn't argue his point. He argues your point. That is a very noble trait. And it's what I try to do with my listeners and Jovati or whatever the guy's name is. I'm arguing his points. I'm not sitting here and trying to sell him on Donald Trump. I'm sitting here and addressing the things he's saying. Dom does it too. And that's why we get along so well, is because we address each other's points. Here's the rest of this.
We're creating.
I got to call him now. Holy shit.
Policing has gone to profit. If you want to solve the problem between the police and the public, go back to the Constitution. It's as simple as that. This is the easiest solution on the planet. You want to stop the cops from arresting kids for drug offenses? Take away the ability for them to enforce what they need. So stop with the victimless crimes. I know so many people are going to disagree with me, and they're going to throw the broken window theory that the kid who's got he needs the pot in his system is going to eventually break into somebody's home, which I just disagree with. But if you take away some of the victimless crimes and you put cops on that position to sit there and respond when needed, now all of a sudden there's going to be no problem. You're not going to get a black kid running from police because they see a bulge in his pocket and then it's a cell phone.
Thank you, Deb. I cannot tell you how happy that makes me that I don't have to call anybody after the show.
Some cop who was on the north side of Chicago, and this is another problem. You get some white kid who's always wanted to be a police officer, and he grows up thinking that it's the Wild West, because I'm going to tell you, now as a suburban cop, we got a lot of the problems that Chicago and Milwaukee chased out. Chicago does have an air of arrogance. I love Chicago PD, but I also got a big problem with them. That being said, you get those kids who wind up going to the academy. You get stories from veteran cops. What does social media do? Social media pumps out on a daily basis that the blacks are animals. All they show are the worst videos of the black community, and just nonstop. So now you got some young 21-year-old kid who, again, 21-year-old kids should never be cops. The age should be raised to 30. You want a 21-year-old boy showing up to your house to solve a problem? Now he's in the academy on a daily basis thinking that it's going to be the Wild West for him. He's in Chicago. He's got these stories coming from veterans, and all he sees online is the black community is out of control and they're violent. And where do they put him? On the south side, because young, aggressive, yes, sir, I'll take those orders, kids, are the easiest to wind up doing what you want. That's the problem with law enforcement. Take away what their ability is to enforce. The term community policing is redundant. And you go back to the Constitution, you're going to see a massive change. But you know what? There's no money in that. There's no money. The systemic racism, I agree, is there, but it's there on the higher level. It's there in the courts. It's there in the politicians. Unfortunately, and I've said this publicly and they hate it, some cops are just too stupid to realize that they're pawns. If they stood up and said, it's not my job, this is not the oath I swore to, it would be a completely different story.
I would love to have a conversation.
Dominic, we clearly have.
I hate to say it, but when I first had Dom, I saw some deference and some mentorship needed for me on how he interacts with people. And he is very good at it. Now, everyone goes, oh, Matt, you're so good at debating. You're so good at putting people in their place. Yeah, but what he does is different. We have one thing in common. We both can concede other people's points and find value, and that makes him likable. This isn't Dom. Dom is fuck shit, cock pussy, son of a bitch. You know, I want to blast a load.
But
all
you got to
over
know
her
when
face.
to turn it on, right?
Yeah, but
you got to know
he's
when to
very
turn it
good-
on
Yes.
and when you're allowed to kind of break out of that lane and start using the obscenities.
That's correct.
I can respect
Yeah.
that.
When I'm on Deanna's show, it's yes, ma'am, it's no, ma'am, and that's the way I am.
Right.
So I'm like Dom in that sense. Is he's very good with that. But the one thing that Dom has that I don't have is that he's not afraid to put it all on the line sometimes and lose it all. And that is also stupid, but extremely brave at the same time. And I love that about him. All right, we're almost done. Then we can comment, and then we'll get the hell out of here.
But on the other hand, I find our agreements to be fascinating and ironic. Yes, there is systemic racism. Yes, by the way, Black Lives Matter definitely challenges judges, prosecutors, politicians. In fact, they were not popular in the Democratic Party before George Floyd because of how aggressively they challenged Democratic politicians, let alone Republican politicians. But when you say, hey, we should not imprison people for profit, every progressive agrees with that. So the for-profit prisons are insane.
As progressivism turns into socialism and ultimately communism, that puts everyone who disagrees with them in prison. Give me a fucking break, Senk. This is why he's trying to normalize progressivism, and to me, I think that's what makes him completely disingenuous. I wish this guy would just be, from a law standpoint, he can be a liberal. That's fine. From laws of being completely a liberal is fine. But when you start saying progressivism, what you're saying is that law and order is the problem. Therefore, you want to limit the amount of law and culpability and responsibility of the person who creates that infraction or breaks that law. And to me, that is complete bedlam and just completely irrational. I completely disagree with what he has to say there, because progressivism isn't working. Progressivism is essentially saying that crime is victimless. We're going to go ahead and let you out. Well, you can take a look at secondary offenses for people we do that. And usually the first crime that they did is ancillary compared to the second. The second is usually more violent. It impacts more people and harms more on that second crime. I am not about that. You have to have jails. You have to have a place where you can put criminals. I agree with him that certain crimes need to be forgiven. Some kid has a joint. I don't think he should spend the night in jail. Some guy deals weed. I don't think he should spend the night in jail. But if you have a guy who is, punches a cop or gets caught with meth and a gun, that person should not only be in prison, stay in prison until they have the bail to get themselves out. For him to say that progressive policies are going to help this, all you're doing is encouraging more crime. What do you guys think of this? I mean, I'm so excited. I'm sorry I freaked out. You guys probably thought there was World War III, but to see Dom sitting next to Cenk Uyghur. Oh,
Cenk is a piece of... I really can't stand the guy. Hear me out. I would love to talk to Dominic, though. And here's the thing. When he's addressing systemic racism, I would love to know, because he was a former cop. Izzo was former law enforcement. So I would love to know if he could give a rough estimate, a poll on the level of positive interactions versus negative interactions between both whites and blacks. I would love to know if it's roughly 50-50 for all, or if there is some level of bias at the street level. Because what he is basically saying is that there is bias once shit hits the courtroom. If there is a implicit bias when things hit the courtroom, I have theories about that, and I would love to talk with the guy about it.
Oh, I've got some issues with what he said too. I mean, I would disagree with Izzo on that. I don't think systemic racism is that the actual system is up against black people. I'm going to argue that point ceremoniously with bells on. I'm going to go after that because I don't agree with that. Do I believe that there's ill-proportioned sentencing to black?
Right.
Yes. But the number of first offenses for white people versus the first offenses for black, that disparity is almost as large as the demographic of black crime and white crime. That's what you need to know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The demographics I feel like support that, right? I mean, I don't
It
know the
does.
exact population statistics of white, black, Asian. I don't know, but
12.5 to 14 million own
okay.
51% of the crime, 49% of the crime, 49.6% of the crime, and 51 point whatever, minus just looking at blacks and whites. You can add other races and it lowers, but essentially it's a 50-50 for actual felonious crime where there is a victim that could be rape, that could be murder, larceny, whatever. It's owned proportionately by 14 million of the population versus 71.3% of the population. It's a huge disparity.
That's my point. So you have a smaller portion of the population committing more of the crime. So that is why there's the disparity there. There's not, I don't know, I'm a white woman, so coming from me, it may mean nothing. But to me,
Where the white women at?
I know, right?
Brett, you have to wash up after our weekly our cross burning. But the thing that you need to understand is that here's the truth. And if I wish I was in this conversation because I would be very respectful. I would have worn a tie, but I would ask the following question, guys. It is more likely that black people have a negative experience with police officers due to the population and size and the propensity for black people to commit more crime. They are going to run into the system more and they're going to have larger issues on a more consistent basis based upon re-entering the system on multiple occasions compared to most white people. Now, it doesn't say that most white people don't, do multiple crimes. That's not what I'm saying. But inherently, most white crime is one and done. They do a crime and then they don't come back. It is not 100% true. And there are plenty that do. But I don't have the number, but I did have the number and I can't remember the number. But if you look at reoccurring crime, once an African-American enters the system versus whites, it's like a 4-to-1 ratio. It is an incredible number. And that is because white people who commit crime don't always live in criminal areas. Predominantly, most of the black people who do live in impoverished neighborhoods, and that is a direct result of Cenk Uyghur's policy and Democratic policy. They own 37 of the top 50 most violent cities in America. So for Cenk to say that more government is going to solve the problem when there already is more government in those cities, more than any other cities, and it literally keeps black people down. He will not address the controllables, which is for the townships, the cities, the municipalities to change the way blacks interact with whites, to stop the zoning, to stop the railroad track mentality, to give bonuses and tax reductions to businesses to go into these impoverished neighborhoods, to allow whites and blacks to cross the lines of delineation, to have them come together. This is going to solve a lot of these problems he's talking about, but he won't. And this is the problem. They think big. They want federal government to solve the problem when this is a state and local problem.
For 40 years, the media has been telling the American public that there is a bias that's happening in law enforcement specifically aimed towards blacks. Okay, fine. Matt's white, I'm black. We're both seeing the same news stories.
Not from the waist down.
We're both getting the same media, right? We both go out and sell pot one day, right? Matt is watching the statistics because he knows what those reflect based off of both media and Hollywood. Fine. Knows that, okay, well, if I get pulled over, if I've got a gram in my pocket, whatever, all right, I'll say this to the cop, yes sir, no sir, fine. I get pulled over, again, in this scenario, I'm black. Oh shit, I know, statistically speaking, that I have a much higher chance of getting shot. I have a much higher chance of some sort of a violent confrontation with the police. Am I going to fight to stay alive? Am I going to fight that battle? Is this the hill that I'm going to die on? So there is some argument.
Do you believe that, what you just said?
I believe that, hear me out, I believe that fear based off of both news and media plays a portion in terms of swaying those statistics, is what I mean. Not necessarily from the police point of view, but from the accused reactions. Oh, I'm not dying today. kind of thing.
I understand what
Yeah,
you're
what you're
saying,
saying.
but the feeling is one thing. The numbers say something completely different because
That's-
whites disproportionately are killed by cops more than blacks, and blacks commit 50% of the crime. A white officer does not hesitate with a white person if they feel their life's in danger. I guarantee they hesitate with a black person. Nowadays, you have to have that doubt. And because even if you're black, you have to be careful. A lot of people are like, oh, if it was a white guy, he wouldn't get shot. You know what? I understand that you have anecdotal evidence to show videos of white people and say, oh, a black guy would have got shot in that situation. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Of course there's
Fucking
those
YouTube is
situations.
everywhere.
Yeah, of course. But for you to sit here and say that I'm a concealed carry holder, if I would get out my car and I'd reach in my back, I'd be dead. If I got out of a car and reached into the small of my back and that guy had just run my plates and done an NCIC check on me and checked the database from the state and city level and found out immediately it's going to flash that I'm a CDL holder. It's the first thing he's going to see. He's going to see that I'm carrying. And I come out of that car and I reach in the small of my back and I'm like, fuck you, pig. I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
I don't care what color I am. I'm going to get full and riddled with holes. So I understand where people are coming from. So here's the deal. Also, most white interactions with cop usually has 1 to 2 people in the vehicle. Black interactions with cop usually have 4 to 5 in the vehicle on average. The propensity to catch someone doing a crime with more people in the car or who have a criminal record is going to be higher with cops, which means that there is going to be probable cause for cops to initiate some form of arrest or to invoke some form of investigation at that moment. The situation is pretty simple. Cops go where they can catch criminals. And I hate to say this, that's in black neighborhoods. You want to fix it? Change the fucking criminality of black neighborhoods. Stop voting Democrat. That's how you fix it. Go ahead, Leroy. And then we got to be done.
I just wanted you to clarify. When you say 4 to 5 people, did you mean in the cop car or in the car that got pulled over?
I don't know many squads to do 4 or 5 cops. I'm talking about 4 or 5 people in the car. On average, traffic stops in black neighborhoods, particularly inner city neighborhoods, usually will have anywhere from 4 to 5 people in those cars where a felonious crime is charged. With white people in white neighborhoods, it's usually 1 to 2 where a felonious crime will be charged. My point is that when you have an inner city, which has a lot of crime and a small portion of the population owns that, if you put 4 or 5 people in a car and there is a traffic stop, the chances of one of those people having a felony is a lot higher than 1 or 2 in a white neighborhood. That is why you will see a lot of stops and people say, well, it's racial profiling. No, you're in a neighborhood full of crime. That's where cops are going to go to feast. They don't go and set up traffic stops on the freaking residential roadway on Washington and Belvedere. They go on interstates for a reason. And the reason why is that's where people speed. You go where the crime is if you're a cop. That's the way it works. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. You want to fix this, you want to fix this systemic racism, then stop allowing these kids first taste of interactions with cop being slapped in cuffs and getting a felony on their record, because all it's doing is creating criminals. It's not preventing shit. You have got to educate, demonstrate respect, family values, give them jobs, put them in a place where having kid farms and welfare is not the answer. Giving them an education and giving them an opportunity to succeed and not get shot, where dealing crack is second better to working at Taco Bell. And living till 24 years old is better than working at Taco Bell till you're 60. So why don't we try to work on that instead of talking about the judges and the laws and all this shit? Handle it at the state and local level and you will fix your area. That's it. 1 minute, Amy, you have been a doll. You have stayed by. You knew Leroy and I hadn't been together. Give us, Amy, give us what you got.
That I don't know if our air conditioning has just been turned off for the evening, but I'm like melting truly.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so hot in here with all the lights.
I installed one of these. The first thing I did is because of summer in Virginia. Jeez.
Yeah, I need something. I'm dying right now. But Judy St. Vincent reached out to me. She asked me again. I don't think she heard my answer, so I just want to address that really quick. That as a Catholic, I do believe I am a Christian. But if you ask any other Christian, they don't believe Catholics are Christians. They believe we are our own entity, our own. They don't believe we're Christians. So That's my answer. I believe it. I feel it, but we're not accepted.
I just say that's not true. I just say the way you practice is different than the way Christians practice. Would you consider? Would you consider? No, it's just we're gonna get too long. I love you. You're a Christian, and you're always gonna be a Christian to me.
I believe I am.
This is gonna go too long, though.
I accept it. I don't care if you accept me as a Christian or not. Okay, I know it's in my heart. I don't care.
All right.
But that's
All
what
right.
I was answering the question. I do believe I am a Christian.
Yes.
Christians do not believe Catholics are Christians, and that's
Yep.
okay
And
with me.
according-
I'm not offended.
And according to this country, you are free to believe whatever you want, no matter how true it is or isn't.
I identify as a Catholic and a
That's right.
Christian.
I identify. You're a woman, not Catholic, Christian. We don't know. Leroy, what do you have to say about false idols?
Okay, so we covered a lot of ground today, and I haven't been on in a little while. And I want to remind everyone that when I come on here and I'm exchanging ideas with Matt and conversations and Amy, that this is very cathartic for me. So I truly appreciate not only everyone's attention and input, but also these two. I consider them my friends, and this is an amazing platform. That being said, we covered a lot of ground today, and I really feel like this is one of the best shows that we've done in a long time.
Yeah, it's a fun show.
That's good. It moved
Yeah,
fast.
we covered everything from Trump and his trial to priests on stage and with dancing poles and everything else. Real quick, I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this dude's name right. Djibouti. Yeah, that guy.
Djibouti.
McDoofy. I'm glad that he showed up.
He seems
I
like a
am
nice
glad
guy,
that he showed
honestly.
up. Yeah, honestly, he seemed really cool. And it seemed like he wanted to have a conversation, but was maybe a little hesitant to call in. I get that. To another guy named Sherrick. Yeah, Sherrick Danks, who did not want to debate and he didn't want to debate because he felt like I was going to participate in bad faith arguments. I'm going to say that's completely false. I only participate in good faith arguments. You're a lazy piece of shit and you should have come on the show.
Yeah, I don't understand why people think that everyone's got to be a victim. That's stupid. Bad faith there's no such thing as a bad faith argument. There's only a bad argument. Okay,
there's that.
It's no such thing. Everyone has an opinion, and your job is to ultimately listen and process and argue your point onto why that person is wrong. And if you can't do that, then who cares? Who cares?
With logic and at least one or few academic points. If your entire argument is based off of an emotional response, guess what? I'm probably not your audience.
Real quick, I got to interrupt. Still point.
You're good.
There it is. It came today. Thank you guys. I love you and I appreciate you. I'm sorry for interrupting, Leroy. Wrap it up here. I got to mention two things, then we got to go.
That was the end of it, and I was just going to say I love both of these people, and it was an awesome show.
Okay, Judy says that's about the only problem I have with Matt. If that's the only problem you have with me, then you and I are right as rain. I never said Catholics aren't Christians. I said I forget that Catholics are Christians. I separate them because I find that their processes and their rituals are a little off for me. I don't align with them. I think they're weird. And I think having, patron saints wearing their chains and praying to them is exactly what the Bible says not to do. So I'm sorry. I disagree with the pomp and circumstance of the Catholic Church. And it probably has to do with when I was a kid. It has nothing to do with you. That's probably why. Okay. So I didn't say Catholics aren't Christians. I said I forget the Catholics are Christians. And I always say Christians and then Catholics separately. Okay. So here's what I will say. Okay. I'm going to do it really quick. There's Christians and then there's Catholic circus clowns. Is that better?
Yeah.
Does that work? I'm kidding. That's a joke. It's a joke. It's humor. Yeah. I'm just trying to be funny. We love you. Hey, dial 988, then press 1 Veterans Crisis Hotline. Or if I hurt your vagina tonight, you can call them too. 22 veterans commit suicide a day. It's way too many. Please do me a favor. Reach out to a vet. Folks, if you have not had the chance, we would greatly appreciate it. One last thing is we've had a lot of people who were just absolutely awesome tonight, helped us out. by going to Link Tap Go, the DUM show. You can do that, not just to donate, we would appreciate it, but we have hats and shirts. You get the Don't Unfriend Me hat. Leroy's got his, the Awake Not Woke. We have some great clothes there. We give 10% back to the Travis Manion Foundation and also help support the show. But you can also donate too. We always appreciate. Go to thedumclub.com, go to thedumnews.com, go to thedumstore.com, go to thedumshow.com, and you can find us and follow us. We'll be back tomorrow with a recorded show. I'll put the DOM show up for you, and then we will also have a live show at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Amy, we love you. Leroy, we love you too. Thank you guys.
Love you guys. Yeah, love you guys.
Oh, and did I hear about Bill Maher abortion? No, I haven't watched the latest episode.
I haven't
I
either.
want to hear it because Bill interests me quite a bit. Good night, everybody. We love you.
Good night. Love you guys.
Bye. Bye.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the
Good show,
Don't
you two.
Unfriend Me
Thanks.
Show
Love you, Leroy.
with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, Olivia, and Mike. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage.
Nice job, Kristen. I'm glad you got him. Awesome.
Coming to you live on the Spreely.tv network and
Oh, do not do sacrilege. I'm kidding. Come on.
all major social media channels at The DUM Show.
Wait. Carl. Hey, Carl, thanks so much, man. I can't thank you enough. I see it. You're the best. And watch this. This is for you, pal. Doing it right now. I'm not going to let it go. Thank you for calling me out, man. I wanted to make sure I gave you the heads up. Let's see. There it is. It's going in right now. It should pop up any second. Make sure you guys like the show if you have not. There it is. Carl donated $36.24. Thank you so much, Carl. We appreciate you. God bless. Please like the show. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.